month of BHOC.
Where did you do with everybody else?
I have a room reserved down on the first floor on Sundays, but haven't been here Sunday since I started doing these weekday things, so yeah. But welcome to Mass Memories, the podcast where my friends talk about their lives. Today, on Tuesday, March 21st, 2023, I'm here with Aaron Frank Deutsch, a.k.a. Doy, a.k.a. the boy who drank, a.k.a. do you have any other nicknames I missed?
Most of my roommates now call me Chef.
When did that happen?
My sophomore year, I worked here at the Union.
Yeah.
I guess when you start out, they call you, I think, a student assistant.
Yeah.
And then after like 2 weeks, once I passed my knife training and I was prepped to work on the grill, I got promoted to student cook, which I told them one night, and they were like, oh, he's a chef now. And a lot of them call me Chef. Timmy calls me like Chefry. I'm not really sure why, but Doy and Chef are probably the two. All of my girlfriend Katie's roommates call me Ronnie for unknown reasons, because the Ron from Aaron,
yeah,
they just turned that into Ronnie, and so now I'm Ronnie to them. So
is that how Ron originates?
I wouldn't be surprised if that's where it came from, but I don't know. I've never heard anybody named Aaron before being called Ron for short, but
it's Ronald. What am I talking
yeah,
about?
I mean, it got Ronald, but yeah.
Yeah. You still chefing it up at the house?
Sometimes. Our kitchen is a disaster, so I don't do as much cooking there as I would like to, but...
I remember I came to your block, I want to say it was like Indiana or something like that, and Timmy was just like furiously scrubbing plates and everyone else was out drinking. I'm like, there's a joke here. I don't know what it is yet, but it's still formulated.
The kitchen is always disgusting. They're literally... Yesterday they had to replace our dishwasher, and then the guy just left our old dishwasher filled with like flooded, disgusting water, just sitting in the middle of our kitchen, and he was like, oh yeah, just like take this and set this outside when you're done. So it's still just sitting there, not to be moved. Right. Dishes piling up. It's a college house. Exactly. That's the one thing I love living with my roommates, and I love living in college house, but the one thing I'm excited for, like, moving out is just have a kitchen where I can cook and be clean.
Not have to like worry about wearing shoes everywhere, you know?
Yeah, that would be nice too.
What is your first memory of us?
Oh, of you, I can remember that one specifically. It was either the first night of college or the second night. There was like a bunch of us sitting in the common room outside in Bowen, and we were trying to figure out like what we were going to do that night, and people were like, well, we need to get some alcohol, and everyone was asking like where to buy and like if they could use their fakes, and I feel like you were giving us like advice because people were like, let's go to PJ's, let's like use our fakes at PJ's, and I think you were telling us like to not do that because PJ's is not always the best place.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't tell you about that.
That's what I remember. I remember you like giving a bunch of freshmen like advice about what to do on their first night and where to get alcohol and what bars we could try and get into, and I think we ended up like me and Hyatt went to our room and watched a movie and then ended up playing like basketball at the RPAC or something like. We were not willing enough to go risk it on the first night. Yeah. I didn't even have a fake ID then. I was still just using my brother's old ID.
Dude, I don't know. I'm such a good influence on you guys. Did I ever tell you about this time I got written up my first night? Mm-hmm. So my mega was like come to this party down at the 6-person suite, and long story short, like had the RAs found out, and everyone scattered to like the rooms, the bathrooms, and they like. Try to make it look like, oh, it was just whatever. But I was in the bathroom with like a couple people, and and someone, like a second year, was like, okay, like, I think the coast is clear, let's go. Even though, you should never leave before you get the all good from, like, whoever, right? Like, opening the door kind of thing. And, then we walked out, and the RAs are right there, and they're like, dumbasses. Yeah. And so we got... They didn't find any alcohol, but we got up for drinking games, even though it was with water. Yeah. Yeah, it was some bullshit. I don't know. I feel like everyone's first night is just a hectic ride. Yeah,
we had a few close calls early on in the dorms. I remember one in like the room next to me, which I think was like Kevin Hurst or somebody was over there. They had a bunch of girls over from like a different school, and the RA came knocking. He's like, I could smell your seltzers from down the hallway, whether or not that was true or not. I'm like, probably not. And he was like, I need everybody's buck IDs right now. And everyone's like, well, we don't really go here, we don't have buck IDs. And he's like, okay, well, if you do go here, give us your buck IDs. And like, we were new enough that I don't think he really knew who we are. So I just kind of like hid back, and I was like, if he doesn't explicitly come up to me and ask for my buck ID, I'm not going to give it to him. And so got away from that one.
It's crazy to think that we had like people like roaming the halls trying to detect like people drinking and shit.
Yeah.
That's like so lame. Like what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like it's college. Come on. Like let people.
Especially like that night we weren't even like causing a big like ruckus. There were other nights in the dorm where we were much more disruptive, where nothing ever happened. But like, that night, like it was not that loud. It was like not that late at night either. And it's like if we're doing it in our dorm, like with the door closed, like we're not like causing a scene. I don't know what the big deal is.
As long as you're not like there was a kid in my freshman year where he drank a half a handle by himself and like didn't make it to the bathroom, like threw up in the hall. It's like that's where it's like you as an RA you feel like you need to step in, but that's just like I don't know, let people do their thing.
Right.
What were we doing today before we started filming?
Tuesdays are pretty light for me. I only have one class, so spent the morning just doing some homework, watching Clone Wars.
Oh yeah.
That's my new show, and then I had my engineering principles of cancer class that I went to where I don't really pay attention, but I have a presentation there on Thursday, so I figured I might as well show face this week in class so that he doesn't think I always skip, but not a whole lot going on Tuesdays.
I gotcha. How'd you get into Clone Wars?
So, for like the past year and a half, I was watching Naruto.
Yeah.
So that was the only show I like watched at all.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I want to get into anime, and so I was like asking around, and there's like a gazillion anime recommendations from anybody who watches anime, especially my friend Taylor and Kayla. They both gave me like a million, and I was like, well, I'm kind of animate out after like I was going through Naruto like 3 or 4 episodes a day, like as fast as I could. And I didn't skip any filler, which was a bad move on my part. I don't know why I made that decision, and then once I did it, I wouldn't let myself break that rule.
That's how you break a person. Make them like watch like 5 episodes of Naruto a day.
Yeah. So I watched like a couple shows in between that and Clone Wars. I watched like Cowboy Bebop and a couple other like short stuff, but I was like, I don't really want to get into any like long anime right now. And so I was like, well, I never watched Clone Wars and I've heard really great things about it. And it's 22 minutes. That's what I was looking for. I wanted a show that's, because Naruto was so easy. I would come back from class. If I had like an hour for lunch, I could watch 1 episode and eat lunch and then go back out the door.
Yeah.
But so I didn't want like an hour-long show that I had to like sit down and watch for every episode, and I hate stopping shows in the middle.
Yeah.
So I needed something that was like short and episodic that I can just like watch whenever I have 30 minutes of free time. So Clone Wars was exactly what I did. So far it's good, but I've heard from everybody it only gets better. I don't know if you've watched it or not.
I have only seen episodes 4, 5, and 6 of Star Wars.
Okay.
Although I've got one friend who like tells me that Clone Wars is like one of the greatest shows of all time. Like especially like after season 2, apparently it just like picks it up.
Yeah, I'm like midway through season 2 now. And it's like my one friend explained to me. He said like once they decided it's not a show for children anymore, it got way better.
That's exactly how it's been described to me. It's like it's a kid show until it's not.
Yeah, I've seen all the Star Wars movies, and like I watched Mandalorian and Boba Fett. There's a few things I haven't seen, but I've seen most of it, so I'd say I'm pretty into Star Wars, which is why it was a good pick for me, I guess.
What's your typical day or week look like right now?
Not a lot. So, like, my capstone class is a joke, because I took product design capstone, which is like, because general capstone sounded really hard, but I could take this product design capstone, which, like, you just kind of do your own, it's not like a really technical, it's more about the process of like prototyping and just like figuring different stuff out. And so our project is building a bar stool, and so it's pretty, like I'm almost embarrassed to say that when people ask me, because like I talk to like aerospace guys and like, oh yeah, we're building this new like aerofoil design and we're in like the wind tunnel testing it, and I'm like, yeah, we're building a bar stool. Like if somebody really wanted to complete my project who knew what they were doing, they could probably do it in a week, but we kind of just like spread it out. So I don't really do a lot for capstone, which is what like a lot of seniors spend most of their time doing.
Yeah.
My technical electives are like not that big of a deal, so I don't really do a ton. Usually starting on Wednesdays is our Swag Wednesday, so we watch Mandalorian or whatever Star Wars related show comes out that Wednesday.
Swag Wednesdays.
It started off with Mandalorian, and we used to get fried, and we would watch Mandalorian, and then sometimes we do that still, sometimes not, but it's just like every Wednesday is like a Star Wars thing now, so we're either doing that or we're drinking. Thursday nights this semester, for me, big, have been just playing Mario Kart. That's pretty much all we do on Thursday nights. We play Mario Kart until we decide to go to Outer, and then we go to Outer. I like Outer, but I hate when it gets packed, so I like to get there early and get out early. Yeah. And so we usually just play Mario and then go to Outer. And then Friday and Saturday are drinking, Sunday recovery, and then, but pretty standard week, I'd say. I don't think I do anything like crazy out of the ordinary. I don't have a ton of hobbies, I guess. So if I'm not doing like homework or drinking, I'm pretty much just like sitting around watching TV or just like hanging in the living room or doing something with my girlfriend.
Yeah, the senior schedule of just coast until graduation.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, no, it's a good time. I don't know, outer especially, like, I don't know, living like right by it was great. But I agree with you, like, especially Thursday night, like for the $2 wells, it gets, especially like after like everyone starts turning 21, like people start going to outer because they don't have to worry about that anymore. It just gets way too packed.
Yeah, I like Little Bar better, to be honest, but I don't even know if they have stuff on Thursdays. But I just like Little Bar's like atmosphere. I feel like I always have somewhere to sit, where it's outer, I'm like packed around.
Yeah, dude, I found this place on Summit that was like Wednesday through Friday, 4 to 8. It's like $2 drinks. I think it's like cans or wells or whatever. But the only problem is it's on Summit and it's past Northwood.
What's it called? Is it?
It's like the music hall. Something
Okay,
like that.
I know exactly what you're talking about because the place right next to it, I think, was called Cafe Bourbon Street, Cafe Bourbon Street became Summit Music Hall.
Yeah.
Because we used to live like literally 200 feet from that place, and one night we were like, let's just go check out Cafe Bourbon Street. Like, if we could drink there, like, that'd be awesome. We could literally go have a bar 15 seconds from our house and go drink there. And we went in and it was super, like, shady and, like, we just, like, turned around. And so we never investigated it further, but we went to check out the music hall.
I don't know. I feel like ever since, I was walking to the package store and I passed it and I was like, this is like $2 for, like, a beer in this economy.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like the only problem is it's like, it's really fucking out of the way.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you knew how far your house was.
Yeah,
Like, back
that was
in the day.
brutal.
Yeah, dude, I can't believe you guys used to live back there. Like, near like people, too.
Yeah, that was a weird house because it was like, it was good for COVID because we didn't really have in-person classes. Although I did have one in-person class that was at 8 a.m. And sophomore me, it was optional to be in person, but sophomore me was like, oh, I'm going to be a good student and get to the union. It was in the union grand ballroom. It was like 50 kids, and they had each of us at a big-ass table by ourselves, spread out across the entire ballroom. I don't know why this professor like even set this up.
Yeah.
And so I would fucking walk there from our house on Northwood, which was like, that was like easily a 25-minute walk from here all the way to almost 4th Street in Northwood. And I don't know, halfway through the semester, I was like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, this is stupid. I just started going online, which was probably worse for my grades, but...
Yeah. No, I'm a hard believer of online school just does not teach you anything. Like, that, or my junior year, sophomore year, like, I could not tell you a single thing I fucking learned.
Yeah. Plus, it was just like, for exams, I just stopped studying because a lot of them were just like online or take home, and it's like, okay, well, I can just pull up my notes. Like, my study skills have gone out the window.
Yeah, no, I'm telling. Like, senior year, like when we went back in, or my senior year when we went back in person, like, there was this one class that was graded on a normal curve. I got like an 85 on the midterm, but the like average was like a 90 something, and like so I got like a C plus, B minus, I forget what it was. But it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, so I've never studied as hard as I did for that final because I was like, it's all fucking normal curve bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't take a regular final. I always say, like, if I had to go back and take my freshman year courses, like right now, with my, like, level of willpower, it would go horribly. Like, chemistry, I just don't even think I would ever be able to do that again. Like, for those exams, I used to take, like, all 5 practice exams multiple times, study all my notes, like, write out these big study guides and, like, do flashcards. There's no way I would do that anymore if someone told me you have to take chem right now.
No, dude, if I was back in my first semester of like physics, calc, C++, and intro to engineering, I would be fucked.
Yeah.
I would fail out of Ohio State. Like, and I graduated somehow. Like, I don't know how the fuck that
I
happened.
think it's a good thing we were in the dorms those years because, like, if you feel like you're in the dorm, like, there's people studying around you, you can't just, like, crack open a beer whenever you want. Like, it's more like, I don't know what's the word, like, it's more geared towards like doing classwork. Like when I get home now, the last thing I want to do is do work in my room. I'm just gonna sit on my couch and drink with my roommates. So.
No, I agree. Well, it's that, and then also just like having all in-person classes. Like there wasn't even like, I don't even think there was. There was one online English class that was asynchronous, but it's like that was like the only thing I ever saw. Like everything else was like you get your ass in there, and you like, and there's not gonna be recording, so like fuck you if you don't pay attention, you know.
Yeah. Up until this year, like the idea of like oh, I don't have class on that day was like totally foreign to me. I was like, how do you not have class? Like it's tapered off since freshman year, but like freshman year I remember being days where it's like on campus at 8 a.m. and then like leaving at like 4 p.m. and like I never returned to my dorm. I just could not do that anymore. Just like going from lecture to lecture, I would be so burned out.
Dude, I'm still so salty about it. You know, I scheduled in like February, March of 2020, and I was like, okay, I finally have a schedule where like I think Thursday or Friday was like all free, so I could finally go to Lucky's on Friday. That's what it was, because you know, like I always had class until like 4 or 5 p.m. on Fridays, and I was like, okay, finally I get to go to Lucky's during Beat the Clock. It's gonna be so sick. And then fucking COVID happened.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still salty about that.
I missed Lucky's, even though I barely went there that much freshman year.
Yeah.
I remember my first semester freshman year, I had Calc 3 late on Fridays.
Yeah.
And I remember my brother called me at the time. He was a fifth year freshman, and or fifth year senior.
Yeah.
And he was like, bro, come to Lucky's. And I was like, I can't have a lecture. And he goes, 1, why do you have a lecture this late on Fridays? And 2, skip it. And at the time I was like, no way, like I'm not skipping this lecture. And now I completely understand like where he's coming from. Like why would anybody go to their 5 p.m. lecture on Fridays when you could go sit outside and beat the clock at Lucky's?
Exactly. Like RIP Lucky's, man. It was gone too soon. Honestly, half the bars on campus are gone too soon.
Yeah.
Where do you lean politically and why?
Radically left.
Radically
We
left.
were just talking about this when we were in Punta Cana last week. We had like a rendezvous point. We were always meeting up and just like getting drinks when the night was like pretty much dwindling down, and we could just get drinks and sit there.
Yeah.
And we were, I won't say we, I was chain smoking horribly, which I try not to do, but it was spring break, so I was just sitting there, and we were just getting into these like political debates where it was just like, felt like me versus everybody, because amongst my household, I would say I'm probably the most liberal, and as to why, I don't know if I can really give like one straight answer. It just feels like, to me, like common sense, which I know will probably offend people who have the other opinion, but it's just like, I don't know. It's hard to say like in a general sense why, but just like, I mean, also my parents were both Democrats, or are both Democrats, so like I think that has a big impact on anybody's like political leanings, but like I'm definitely way more liberal than they are.
I gotcha. What were some of those debates you guys were getting into, if you don't mind me asking?
I think it started with talking about like climate change, because I had brought up how like, in my opinion, it's like already over.
Yeah.
We've lost the war with climate change.
Yeah.
And even like, if maybe we specifically haven't reached a tipping point, I don't see any way in which we don't. I don't think anybody's doing anything to really prevent it.
Yeah.
And so we started talking about that. We talked about, in my opinion, how like billionaires are a disease on our country and that they shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
And that wealth hoarding is like, could be fixed and people just don't care enough or whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't know if we hit anything else too hot topic, but
yeah,
that's sort of some of it.
I think I talked about like similar things with my dad last night. You know, I was like trying to argue how like trickle down economics just doesn't work.
Right.
It's like no, it doesn't. Like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's where I differ from my parents the most, and I think that's with like most parents, because like, oh, once you get a real job, like you'll understand why we can't all pay our taxes like at that high of a rate, and it's like, okay, but you're not making Elon Musk money.
Yeah.
Like you're not even in the same universe as Elon Musk money.
Exactly.
Like, when we talk about tax the rich, we're not talking about you. We're talking about literally like 15 people.
Yeah. You know, like I feel like when people like start bragging about how many zeros they got, it's like that's when you should start being concerned. You know, or like when companies are like bragging about how their profits are like record high while like, you know, people are like, or this mini recession or whatever the fuck we're going and it's happening. Like, I don't know. It's a fun time to be alive, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we were talking about a lot too. It was like capitalism versus socialism or even communism, because they were like, oh, are you like communist? And it's like, well, kind of, but like, obviously I understand that like it can't work perfectly, but I think there's a lot of things that could be better than this free capital market that doesn't seem to do anything except make people more money.
Yeah, make the wealth gap bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. You think that goalposts will ever stop moving for like the environmental stuff though? Because I feel like it was like 2025 and 2035. Now it's like 2040, 2050 for companies to get like carbon neutral or whatever. Like,
yeah, I don't think it'll ever move, or anybody will admit like that it's completely over, just because like then people would like panic. But I don't know. I think it's like completely toast. I don't know if we'll like how immediate the consequences will be, but
yeah, I feel like we're gonna be living in Interstellar at one point, just like, you know, corn and that's it, or some shit. I don't know, or have fires burn or the sky burn. Apparently the ozone's healing, but I don't know. I feel like that's like, I don't know how the environment works, to be honest. My sister was an environmental science major, so I let her do all of that.
I took an environmental science class last semester, so we learned about it a little bit. Ozone's like a different thing than ozone is not affected by like climate change, greenhouse gases. Ozone was because in like the 50s up until like the 90s, all of our refrigerators used this one chemical that was just like tearing the atmosphere apart, and then they banned it and fixed it because that's what the government is supposed to do.
That's just what it's supposed to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They regulated it.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
We were also talking a lot about nuclear energy because I'm working for the nuclear industry after I graduate, and I've taken some nuclear classes, and like I think nuclear energy is one of the most misunderstood things of all time. People hear the word and they like run screaming.
I think Chernobyl.
Right.
You know, they don't think 1 gram of uranium can power so much shit.
Right. We could easily we have people always talk about nuclear fission is coming and it's gonna save the world, or nuclear fusion is coming and like it's gonna be the green energy of the future. Like it's gonna be like the breakthrough. And it's like we have the breakthrough. They discovered it 60 years ago. We just need to build them and use them.
It's just
people are so scared of disasters that can't even happen anymore. Like the Chernobyl is a totally different type of reactor, totally different design that doesn't even get built in the U.S. Like that type of disaster couldn't even happen here if it just literally couldn't happen in the U.S. And like people get so scared of like the waste problem where like they don't think about the waste that nuclear power or that coal power plants, they just pump their waste directly into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Like nuclear waste is the most regulated waste of any waste in the world. Like we literally cool it down for 3 years in a pool, we encase it in concrete, and then we bury it miles into the earth, and still people are like freak out about it because it's nuclear waste.
Yeah. It needs a PR. That's what it needs.
It really does.
It needs a whole campaign, like, you tired of coal? Here's nuclear.
Yeah. Well, the problem with that is that nuclear or coal companies and oil companies have billions of dollars at their disposal to make sure everybody thinks nuclear waste is scary.
Yeah, especially doesn't help that they also, lobby Congress and pay off people to vote the way they want to think rather than just the way constituents actually feel. Again, great time to be alive, all right?
Incredible. So many things to be optimistic about.
What's your relationship like with your family?
It's pretty good. I mean, I have probably a weekly phone call with my parents where we just talk about whatever.
That's nice.
My brother, he lives in LA, so I don't talk to him like a ton, but I've seen him he comes out back and forth semi-regularly. Mm-hmm. My sister lives in Philly. We talk probably less regularly, but I would say it's not like a super close relationship. I've never been one to like talk about a lot of my feelings or like personal matters with my family, I guess. This has always been the way it is.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I feel like I talk about that stuff more with like friends or closer people, I guess. But I have no real complaints in the relationship with my family.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's good where it is, or it doesn't sound like you, there's a desire to get any closer. I mean, not closer, but, like you said, like more like intimate.
Yeah,
that sounds
I think
like the wrong
intimate is the word, though, because it's like, I don't know, just like growing up, this makes my parents sound like bad people, but like we just never really like talked about like feelings that like openly as much. It was mostly just like, how was school today? Blah, 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 what did you do? And so it's like, it's just always the way it was, which is like fine by me. Like I don't really want to be like having awkward conversations with my parents probably as much as they don't want to be having them with me. So I don't know.
Not different families for different people.
Yeah.
Like not ever. I agree with you. Like I sometimes look at like I don't know, Shannon's family who are all like they feel like the fucking Brady Bunch. It's like they're all like going on giant like road trips together, like all this stuff, and like everyone, like my sister's my best friend. Like I don't get that.
Yeah, me and my family, we definitely we go on vacations all the time. Like we have a vacation planned this summer. We're going to Europe. Like when we get together, like we can hang for however much time we're together and just like drink and do stuff. Like it's not like bad by any means. It's just not like it's not like we have a family group chat and the texts come in maybe once or twice like every other day, but like it's not like some people I know who are just like texting in their family group chat like nonstop and like sending memes and shit. Like ours is just kind of like, how's your March Madness bracket?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't imagine sending a meme like family group chat. That sounds like so wrong.
Yeah, my parents are still getting the hang of emojis.
No, my dad sends like, I'll send him like, okay, cool, and then he'll send me like 5 like Bitmojis and gifts, and I'm just like anytime he, instead of just saying like okay or even just liking a message, he says the Bitmoji thumbs up. But because he has an Android, like it sends us a message, so a picture. So I always get just like one picture from Stephen Master. It's goofy.
Yeah.
But I know you said your brother's in LA, your sister's in Philly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you kind of I know your parents are still in Pittsburgh. Do you have a lot of family also in Pittsburgh outside of them? Or?
I have no other family in Pittsburgh. All my dad's side is all in Brookville, Indiana, which is just outside of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So that's where I go on like most holidays now, like for Thanksgiving and Easter and Christmas. I go to both grandparents, but that's just because it's closer. It's only 2 hours away. So like for Easter in a couple weeks, I'll go there. And then my other grandma and my mom's whole side of the family live in Buffalo, and so growing up we split like it was literally we alternated holidays between like the two places, and so I see them all like a lot. So I'm pretty close with like pretty large extended sides of my family.
Yeah.
So I see them a good amount.
Yeah.
But none of my family else is other from Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Any idea like do you think you'll end up in like Pitt or Buffalo or Indiana or
I don't know. So for my job, I'm doing like a 3-year rotational program to start out. So I'll be like bouncing around different departments, and I'll do some summers on location.
Yeah.
While I'm getting my master's degree through my job, which I'm not super excited about, but it's supposed to be online, and I've heard it's not like as bad as it sounds. So
you're gonna be able to flex a master's degree, give me more money.
Yeah, and so that holds me in Pittsburgh for 3 years, which I'm not mad about. I like Pittsburgh, not where I want to live forever.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I have no real plans. I visited my brother. I used to always think like, oh, LA would be cool, but that works for him, but not for me. I am not an LA person. It's just been there, and I was just like, I don't think I would really want to live out here.
I'll blame you.
Maybe somewhere more northern on the West Coast, even though I've never really been out there too much, so I would have to like see. But the East Coast appeals to me. Like I'm not really sure yet, but I got plenty of time to decide. I have no like specific place in mind. I like cold weather. Like not that I like cold weather, but I wouldn't want to be in hot weather all the time. That's one thing I did like about LA. Like
you
I like snow
seasons.
sometimes. I'm a pretty big skier. Even though, I don't ski a ton, but like I love to ski, and I would love to live somewhere where I have access to ski like semi-regularly, where it's not like a plane ride away. Like it could be a road trip away, but not like a crazy amount. And so, like even Columbus for me is kind of a little bit too far for skiing, because the closest place for me for like an actual like good mountain that I want to ski on that's not Mad River Mountain.
Yeah, it's like
just to go back to Pittsburgh has a really good one near my house. It's closer to West Virginia, but Seven Springs is where I grew up skiing, and that's like a very large resort for where it's located. It's like one of the better resorts for being not like actually like up in Vermont.
Yeah.
Or what.
I gotta go. I went skiing for the first time in January. That shit's fun. I understand the appeal now.
Yeah. Where'd you go?
Holiday Valley in New York.
Yeah, I've heard that place.
I'm not gonna lie, I did not know Pennsylvania had any ski places.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bigger. It's like bigger out on the East Coast, like in the whatever those mountains are called.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a few on the western side of Pennsylvania and New York that are pretty decent.
Oh yeah.
But Ohio, no, as soon as you literally cross the border from Pennsylvania to Ohio,
just flat.
Kiss ski resorts goodbye.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you about not knowing where to end up though, because I mean, like, I feel like your 20s, you're just flying by the seat of your pants everywhere. Like, you can make some sort of plan, but it's like, life happens so fast. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, I remember like saying, even into college, it's like, oh, I'm gonna live in the dorms 1 year, then live in the frat house 2 years, at the frat I didn't even end up at, and then like live with like some of the brothers senior year, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know, shit, like I said, shit just changes,
Yeah, I think about that all the time. Like, I don't think my younger self would have ever envisioned the college experience that I had. Like, I don't know what I thought it would go in college. I don't think anybody knows what's gonna come of them. But like,
you figure it out.
Yeah, that's why I don't. Yeah, I'm not planning that far in the future.
What is your most unique talent?
Like the only things I've really ever been like exceptionally good at have been like math and science, which is why I like engineering. But I've never had like like I've never been super athletically inclined. I mean, I played sports, but I've never been like a superstar athlete. For the Mount Talent Show one year, I did juggling because when I played lacrosse in high school, since I was a goalie, they never really had a lot for me to do all the time. So my coaches would just be like, go work on your hand-eye coordination. And one day my coach was just like, just learn to juggle. So I just picked up 3 lacrosse balls and taught myself to juggle. Not that I'm like an expert juggler, but I guess that's a skill that not everybody can do. I like to think I'm a decent cook. Like, I feel like if I had like a kitchen that I could cook in by myself and like access to all the ingredients I wanted, I could be like a great chef.
Yeah.
I think that, like, I think about that a lot. Like, cooking is one of the things I really like to do. And like, if I had a whole different career path, like a different life, I think that would be like something that would be cool to do. Like,
all right, chef.
Be a chef. Yeah. Exactly.
I'm excited to see you with a non-college kitchen.
I just like growing up, like in high school, I remember there was like a good period of time where when I would get home from school, I guess I was in middle school because my brother was still home. My brother and sister would go to work, and both my parents would be at work. And it was always expected of me to have dinner ready. And so for like 2 years in a row, like while that was still the situation before like my brother moved out and whatnot, or before I got a job, like I was making dinner like most nights. Like they weren't anything spectacular, but I just kind of figured my way out. Yeah. And so, like, I don't know, I felt more comfortable in the kitchen, I guess, than most people probably did, like at that point in their lives. And so I've always just like enjoyed cooking.
I feel you. It's so nice to like be able to like make something yourself, you know? Especially like, I don't know, put in the ingredients you want, put different like flavorings, whatever, like, especially considering, I feel like some people think cooking's hard, where it's like, you start by just following a set of instructions, and then you start to play around with that one recipe until you gotta like make your own version of it, you know? Yeah. I have like 60 TikToks liked right now of recipes that are like, I'm gonna do this one day, but I'm not gonna make it in my kitchen right now because I don't blame you. Because I literally, like, if I'm not cooking, like, just like putting a sheet of a bunch of stuff in the oven or like something simple on the stove, like it's not getting cooked. Like I'm not making some like fancy roasted thing on my shitty stove where I can barely like, a pan doesn't even sit flat on my stove. Like, why did no college stove is flat? They're always at an angle. Yeah. Like, that's the most frustrating part. If I have like a little bit of oil in the pan, it just goes straight to one side. I'm like, God damn it! Like I have to sit here, turn this thing for the next 30 minutes while it cooks. It's just like, why can't you just be flat? Like what? I mean, I guess you could put like a shim or something under it, but it's just like, what? Every single house has that problem. Why the fuck is that a problem? Yeah. College landlords are scumbags. Yeah, I don't know. You were Buckeye Boat's house, right? Yeah. Yeah. Buckeye Boats doesn't technically exist anymore. Yeah. How's the new guy? Now that it's not John. They're fine. I mean, they've been pretty good with our service requests. I just think the house itself should be demolished. It's too old. Things are falling apart. It shouldn't even be livable at this point. Yeah. So that's not really a landlord problem. That's more just a house. Yeah, that house is much too old for people to even be living in. So. Have you ever heard of Stoop? That was an old AKSI house. It's like a 12-person house, and I've never been there. I've only heard stories about it. But like, you know, people would like, you know, punch holes in the wall. Apparently, there was one point where like the toilet was leaking like poop water down to the sink, like in the kitchen. Like college houses are just some grimy places. Yeah. Like they're fun while they last, especially like if you got a good group of people. But they are. Art serves our purpose. They build grit. They build character. I don't really think about it anymore until like people will come over. Like I had some classmates come over the other day, like before, like because we had some time to kill in between class, and we're not gonna go back to our house. So we'd say, I was like, we'll just sit at my house for 30 minutes, and like they come in and they're like, shoes on or off, and I was like, dear God, like do not take your shoes off. Do you see this place? Like, and then the one was like, what is that on your roof? And it's literally, we've had this like bubble of paint where it filled with water one day, we poked it, it drained out, and we've never done anything with it. And I completely forgot about it, and like, to me, I don't even look twice at that. And they were like, what is this gigantic, like, disgusting bubble of paint, like, with, like, dirt falling out of it coming from your ceiling? I was like, oh, that's just the thing on the ceiling. It's the blob. Why is there a hole in your wall here? Oh, we had a rocking chair that somebody rocked too many times in the wall, and now it's just a hole that's gotten gradually bigger over the last 2 years. Are we going to fix it? Maybe. It's the landlord's problem. That's the whole point of security deposit, right? You know, like, fix all the shit that ends up happening. I don't know how we got there from my talents, but I think the short answer is I don't think I really have any, like, super unique talents that sort of, like, show your talent, I would say. You'd be surprised how many people say that. Yeah. Like, I feel like everyone says that, but, I don't know, I feel like people are more talented than they think.
I think that's true. I think if like I really sat down and thought about like all the things that I could possibly do, I could probably come up with something. But just like off the top of my head,
Yeah.
nothing really.
No, I gotcha. Well, I mean, that's kind of the whole reason. Like, I know Connor, who I got tomorrow, was asking like for some videos. Like, it's all the same questions for everyone, and I don't know. I really prefer like people going blind because I feel like otherwise you like prepare more of an answer. Like, you know, my most unique talent is cooking because, you know, like it's. I don't know. I like, you know, like for a fucking interview, like if you have someone. You understand, Andy. I'm over-explaining this shit.
Yeah.
This is exactly why I don't want people knowing the questions.
Yeah.
What were you doing when you first got the news of COVID?
I remember hearing about COVID from like the stupid emails that the university was sending.
Yeah.
Like, there's this thing happening like in China, but it's not coming here.
Yeah.
Like it's contained. Like foreign students have to worry about it, but I was like, that's not affecting me. And I remember I was on spring break in Fort Lauderdale when I was like watching the news, and for me like my first like memory of like oh shit was like the Rudy Gobert thing when he got sick, and then they canceled all of the NBA. And then I remember seeing like the numbers go up, and I was like, I remember like counting, like seeing it, like oh we're gonna hit like 100,000 cases, and I was like remember like seeing that like day by day, like oh we're getting closer. Whereas like 6 months later, like 100,000 cases was happening like probably every day or every couple of days. But I was in spring break on Lauderdale, and I remember when we were there, we were like, well fuck it, like we're here, we're just gonna finish our spring break and worry about it like when we get back, which was not the smartest idea, but. Is what we were gonna do.
Yeah.
I remember when we were in line for a bar, like one of the nights, and like it was mostly like Ohio State kids around us, and like it literally was like a buzz started like going through the line, like they're canceling like the rest of the semester, like they're canceling classes, they're gonna send us all home.
Yeah. People
were sending around like those screenshots of like random group me's where somebody was like, well I heard from so and so that like classes are getting canceled. Everybody was like. Nobody could like verify any information.
It's all rumors.
And then like at 1 minute, like the email got sent out and everybody had it, and we were like, all right, I guess like after spring break, no more classes like in person.
Yeah.
So that's my first memory of COVID.
Nah, it's weird. I feel because everyone at Ohio State like was on spring break, and then it went from like you know. You said like a couple weeks to more spring break, like let's go, like you know more time to party, whatever. And then like 2 days later, it's just like nope, fuck out, get out of here, like take your shit and go, like.
I drove to Florida that year for spring break, which was a disaster of an idea because we had my brother's old shitty car, and on the way back, our tire exploded at like 2 a.m. in Georgia.
Jesus.
And so we got to Savannah, and we slept in a Walmart parking lot, and we finally got our tire fixed, and it took us like more than a day to get back to Columbus. And I get back, and I have to literally go to my empty dorm. Like my roommate Hyatt had already moved out, and so I was just like, my dad was like, well I can't come get you for a couple of days because like he was busy, and so I was just like, and my brother had to do something like we couldn't all fit in his car with all my stuff, and so I was like, all right, so I'm just gonna sit here in this dorm for 2 days. Like I had to just go out and get food because like the dining was closed. I don't even know what they expected us to do, to be honest. Like I remember eating cookie dough out of my dorm freezer. I was like, well I'm just gonna eat this raw cookie dough because it was the only food I had left over in the fridge. And I also remember that being a super strange time because that was like before masks were like widespread, so everybody was just walking around without a mask. Like not that like COVID was like running rampant at that point, but I do remember specifically like walking around the dorm while nobody else was there, just like no mask.
I didn't know you were allowed to like stay in the dorm still. I figured
they gave you like some time because not everybody could just like leave right away. So I think you had like the full week to move out.
That's nice.
There was like a couple people like that I would see like in the halls and whatnot, but most people were gone by the time I even got back from spring break. Because I don't think a ton of people went. I feel like as a freshman, not everybody goes on spring break, not nearly as much as like older years. But my brother was going, and so he's like just tagged along.
Oh yeah, dude. I feel like I'm still salty about those last like 2 months in Bowen. Like, and especially you guys, like you had the like full 8-person suite. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like obviously, like the RAs and shit like suck, but it's just like there's something about like I don't know, being around like all those people, like going up to the stairs, like seeing them in the common room, or like. I don't know, like even making friends with the little like freshmen. Like I remember like meeting you guys like walking to like or through the halls during launch week because I wasn't doing that shit because I was in OA and I was like I'm not gonna do these 2 things.
Yeah.
And you know like I remember the first time I met Tim it was like you know he was like hey do you know how to set up an Xbox on the Wi-Fi and I was like sure and then we just started talking like.
Living in the dorms I think. Would have been like I always think about this too. Like how would my experience be different sophomore year if we had lived in the dorms rather than getting our other house?
Yeah.
And like it sounds like it would be a great idea, like, in my head, like, oh, like, I remember sophomore year, I was like, man, I miss the meal plan, like,
Yeah.
I wish I could go eat at Scott right now and not have to, like, cook for myself, and, like, I wish I could be in the dorm, and, like, the suite sounded so much fun. But I think that's just me, like, imagining, like, that it would be like freshman year.
Yeah.
And what I hear from people who lived on campus sophomore year was, like, it was awful.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't want to trade it for the world. Like, your house off campus, I can assure you, was more fun.
Yeah, apparently,
Which it
like,
was.
you couldn't, like, deadbolt your door open, like, you know, you just, like, had, like, people weren't allowed, like, in the common rooms and all this shit, like, yeah, like you said, it just does not sound, like, great at all. Like, I don't know, I feel bad for, like, those freshmen, because it's just, like,
They got a totally different experience.
yeah, I feel like freshman year, like, if there's any year to, like, have a full, or to have, like, an in-person experience, it's freshman year, to, like,
Yeah.
learn the ropes. I don't know. And now it's just, like, what, junior year, they're finally getting out of it? Like,
Yeah.
I guess maybe last year, but I don't know.
I'm happy that I got my year in the dorms. And I know, like, a lot of other schools, people only really do 1 year in the dorms
Yeah.
anyways, so, like, I'm sad. I feel like, looking back on it, even though, like, my brain is saying, like, oh, the dorms could have been awesome, like, I think that's just me saying, like, oh, what if
Grass
this,
is greener.
just looking at this other, yeah, the grass is greener, whereas, like, I'm almost positive now, like, when you weigh the options, like, a house to ourselves with 7 dudes who could have a block every game day, party whenever we want, and, like, do
Got it.
whatever we want, is significantly better than being locked in a dorm, monitored by RAs, and, like,
Yeah.
not being able to do what you want.
No, your guys' house was sick too. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember, I was like, some good ass memories in that house still.
That house was incredible. I wish we could just pick that house up and move it to where our house is currently, because it was so much nicer on every level. It's just the location was absolute shit.
Yeah, minus the, I don't know, Hai was telling me about, when you guys had the COVID party, according to the
Yeah.
neighbors, like, I don't know, that's, I still can't believe, like, there are, like, people living, like, right there, like, that's goofy.
That was weird, living amongst, like, actual adults, even though, still even to that point, like, as far as it was off campus, you're still 10 minutes away from, like, Bowen.
Yeah.
So, like, we're not that far off campus to where the point where, like, the old lady across the street would be like, this is a family neighborhood. It's like,
Yeah.
come on, dude.
No, it's
like,
you live right by college.
Yeah,
come on.
like, I'm sure she lived there for a long time, and OSU slowly encroached on her.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's not really my fault, lady. Like, I don't know, sorry.
Reminds me of, like, there's an old couple that was on Frambies that, like, I would always, like, occasionally, like, see him, like, taking out the trash or something. I'm like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Like, because, I mean, never complaints or anything about them, but it's just, like, I feel like you should, like, not to say you shouldn't be here, but it's like, why would
Why would you
like,
want to? Like, why
yeah.
do they want to be, like, near students where they're blasting music
Yeah.
all night long? Like, yeah.
Like, I remember giving a presentation junior year, and my professor was like, hey, can you turn that music down? I'm like, sorry, that's my neighbor. Like, not even my house.
Yeah.
It's like they can, I don't know. I don't know how they do it, especially considering they're like, they definitely could, like, move somewhere else. Like, they're like older, you know? Like, they got white hair. Like, they don't
Yeah.
need to live in a college, like, house, you know?
Yeah.
How was your quarantine, by the way?
Quarantine, so I lived at home with my parents. My sister was home too, but my brother was not.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically would just go to the basement all day. I set up, there was like a little desk in the basement where I did all of my classwork, but I still slept in my room. I didn't sleep in the basement, even though there was a bedroom in the basement. But I was like in my regular room, and then I would just go down to the basement. I remember I had 8 a.m. chem lecture that I would fall asleep to almost every morning because
Don't blame you.
they didn't, professors had no idea how to run these online classes at
Yeah.
first. And so, like, it was just incredibly boring, like her just putting out the PowerPoint slides and reading over them for an hour and a half, and it's like, I cannot stay awake to this. And so, when I think about quarantine, I remember a lot of that, just sitting in that stupid basement room, like staring at my computer, like doing bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we used to do like Zoom calls all the time, like me and my roommates and like a group of friends, and we would play either Fuck the Dealer or Ride the Bus on these like websites where you can like move around like virtual cards and deal them out and flip them over.
Yeah.
And so we would do that. I mean, quarantine for me wasn't so bad. I feel like I did a fuck ton of drinking with my parents, which I'm glad, like, I was in a household where that could be done, like, my parents didn't care. But, I know many people who had much more rough quarantine experiences where they're hey, quarantine was the worst time of my life, and, like, sure, yeah, like, it was, like, lonely and whatnot, but I think I made the best of it given my situation.
Yeah. I feel like everyone was given, like, similar hands. It's just how you deal with it.
Yeah.
But, Dude, those like quarantine happy hours with like your friends and shit, just so goofy. Looking back now, it's just like I don't know, because it's just like I don't know. I remember filling up my ethyl mug of beer.
Yeah,
just like
that's what I was drinking out of all summer. I had my ethyl mug would fill up with just whatever shit I had laying around.
Yeah, it's just like why? I don't know if I would do that now, like with all of us spread out, you know. But I also feel like we're all graduated and working, and that'd be a little different. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Just at the time, none of us had like anything going on. So
yeah, I mean, it was
let's do something tonight, like
COVID during like undergrad years. It's like what else are you supposed to do? You know, like it's fucking April. Like what else do you want to do?
Yeah. Because classes weren't like that hard either at the time, because like a lot of my classes, like my chem class, the reason I was like not even paying attention was because I just pass-failed it because I didn't even need it anymore.
Exactly.
Because like they gave some like COVID rule where like it was no longer required, and so
yeah,
I pass-failed it. A lot of my classes had online exams, like they were canceling a shitload of like the actual stuff we were supposed to cover, so it's just like I'm just trying to get to the end of the semester.
I remember during my quarantine, I passed-failed two of like the hardest classes probably I've ever taken in college, and I got a 4.0 that semester.
Yep. I think that was the first 4.0 I ever got in college. And
definitely my only.
I think I had maybe one or two others, but that one I would not have gotten a 4.0 without COVID. Like not even by a stretch of the imagination was I getting an A in chemistry. I think I was at like a B+ when I took the final exam, where I didn't study for it, and I was like, literally I could get a 0 on this exam, and I'm still at the threshold for passing the class, so I just went in and just, like press some buttons.
Exactly. Just like make sure you don't like get a 0 on the exam.
Yeah.
But between that and then there's also my engineering ethics class. We were supposed to do a 25-minute presentation for our 5-person group who like we never talked about it and it was like due in like a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, okay, just turn in your slides. Thank God.
Yeah, I remember that for my Intro to Engineering 2 class or whatever.
Yeah.
We had to do some like project where we were supposed to like
make a robot.
We didn't have to make a robot. I think that was the honors one, or maybe that was previous years I had to do that.
Yeah.
I've heard about that project though,
Yeah.
but we had to like, we were supposed to be, like our project, we were supposed to be building like a mock cross section and like making like the lights work and shit, like the crosswalks.
Interesting.
We're like studying like crosswalks and how to make them like more accessible, I guess. And like right before COVID, like we were like, all right, when we get back from spring break, like we're gonna start like 3D printing parts and like building this model and like wiring it together, and like we were all like shit, we have no idea how to do any of that, like this is gonna be really hard. And then we got back and the project was just changed to like, tell us what you would do, like if you could do it. And we were like, well, we would do this and this. And then they like the final part was like, instead of testing it, they were just like tell us what you think your results would be. And we're like, oh, it works great. Like it does a great job. Like it was such like a bogus assignment. I remember that being like one of the big things. I was like, man, this would have really sucked to do in person.
Yeah, no, that COVID's like you said, like with that, I feel like so many professors like just did not know what to do.
Yeah.
Especially like with like their family all being back, it's like I had one professor who like he recorded his lectures and like his kid would always like walk in and like love the kid. He was a cute ass kid, but it's like there's no way that this kid was gonna interrupt like an in-person lecture and like derail like a talk about binary trees for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So shout out to that kid. Probably saved my grade more than he thinks. What's your relationship like with your religion?
I was born Catholic, or raised Catholic, I guess. Up until like I graduated high school, we would go pretty much every week, I would say. But for me, it was never like a super important part of my life. It just felt like this is the thing we do on Saturday, and we never talk about it ever once again. Like it was never, we didn't pray before meals. Like
yeah,
I don't think my parents are overly religious either. But after high school, I never went like ever again, other than like when I'm with my grandparents for holidays or whatnot. And at this point, I would consider myself either agnostic or atheist. Like I guess like after I stopped going, I was like, I don't know why I'm like pretending in my head that I like believe in this stuff, because I didn't like at all.
Yeah.
And so I like, it's just not for me. Like I don't really see like why I need to go to church every Sunday. And so, and whether or not I believe in God, I guess, like probably not, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just don't, to me it's just like, without sounding like belittling to all religions, it's just like, I don't really care. Like everybody can do what they want, and to me, it doesn't appeal to me like at all. It doesn't really, like what's the point? Like I don't really need it. So, not that I don't like, okay, I don't need it sounds like all high and mighty, but it's just like, I don't know. Like I feel no different with it in or without my life.
Yeah.
I guess. And I feel like I'm a decent person. I'm not the greatest person of all time, but I feel like I'm not like going to church wouldn't save me become this like great person.
Yeah. No, I get it. I feel like being born or raised something, it's like, it's like instilling you versus like once you get to like college or like a certain age, you just like get to choose for yourself. And then like, I don't know, like you said, like, I remember as a kid, I was like, do I believe in God? But it's like, you can't say that shit because it's like you're going to get like, I don't know, yelled at by a rabbi or some shit. Versus like, I don't know, now you, like, it's almost like politics. It's like, now that you've grown up, you can make your own decisions. Like, what do I actually believe? What do I think?
Right. I remember my mom always says, like, well, like, even if you're, like, not going to raise something, like, someone is like, Catholic or whatever not, she's always talking about, like, cousins or whatnot, like, at least, like, baptize them, like, give them, like, a foundation or, like, some belief. And it's like, well, why do you need, like, an organization to do that? Like, I feel like I would be the same with or without, like, going to church. Like, half the time, like, that was another part of it. It's like, I'm going here, and I'm not even paying attention to these stories. Like, I'm just counting down the clock till I can go home. It's like, why am I, like, what am I really doing here? Like, I don't know, maybe that's just because the Catholic Church is the Catholic Church, and they make you go, they read stories and give, like, eulogies that are, like, from, like, an old grandpa who's, like, making me fall asleep. Like, it's just so boring. Like, I feel like the time could be so much better spent other than, like, walking around in a circle with your hands out like this and getting your crackers in your blood and, like, doing, like, all, like, saying all these, like, ritualistic prayers than if they just gave, like, a 30-minute, like, feel-good story with, like, a message of how to do good, like, in your life or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not that I'm, like, starting my own religion. I just feel like I was just always going and being like, this is, like, boring. Like, I'm not even paying attention. Why do I care? Like,
yeah. No, I think the morals you get from, like, religion are important and, like, good, but it's at the same time you don't need religion.
Right.
That kind of thing. Like, there's other ways. And, like, hearing the same story of Jonah and Abraham, like, this, that, the other, and, like, the exact same thing over and over again, like you said, like, it's not really the most intriguing thing, especially when you've heard it thousands of times. I
think that's probably, I guess, how my relationship with religion boils down. Like, it just never appealed to me. It just bored me, and I was like, I don't really care about this. Like, and now my opinion on religion, I would say, is very different than my, like, relationship with it. Like, a lot of organized religion, like, I can't stand when people try to force their religion on somebody else. Especially, like, through the government. Like, why somebody thinks, oh, I'm an elected official and it's my job to make sure you have to act a certain way because some silly book told me that it's the right way to do it. Like, that is where I get to the point where I'm like, fuck religion, like, stay away from me.
Yeah. I think, let people believe what they want to believe, but it's like when they start trying to force their beliefs on others, that's when it crosses some sort of line.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I don't even want somebody, like, coming up to me and, like, recruiting me for, like, some shit. Like, don't even, like, if I wanted to do it, I would. Like, I feel like they think they're, like a godsend. Like, oh, I'm going to save this person's life with, like, my religion. But it's just like, I don't want somebody talking to me about that.
Well, you're not a big fan of the preacher, or the old preachers?
No. See, them, though, is, like, almost better in my mind than, like, the organized groups of people who, like, make policies or, like the people who, like, literally their whole job is, like, how can we get more people into the Catholic Church so that they put more money into the basket when it comes around every week. And it's just, like, I don't know.
I agree. It's a weird thing. It's especially considering, like, I feel like people are, like, so many people are, like, raised something. And, like, I don't know, I feel like the more people I talk to, the more, like, I don't know if it's a generational thing or an age thing or whatnot, but I feel like not a lot of people, like, I talk to, like, really have a strong belief anymore in any form of religion. And if people, whether it be people that were raised, like, super religious or people that weren't, like, it's just...
Yeah.
What is your biggest regret?
My current biggest regret is that on spring break last week I put out a cigarette on my arm and I have a horrible burn. It's going to be there for the rest of my life.
Actually?
It's a pretty big burn, so it's not going to look great for at least some time.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have any, like, huge lifelong regrets. Like, most of my regrets are tiny, like, man, I was drunk, I wish I hadn't done, like, that stupid thing, shit fest. Most of my regrets are just tiny, like, the next day, like, man, I wish I hadn't done that stupid drunk thing.
Yeah, stupid little drunk mistakes kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nothing like, laying in bed like, fuck.
Not really, I don't think.
It's a good point to have.
Nothing that's not, like, super personal that I wouldn't discuss with you.
I gotcha. What are you most worried about?
Loneliness, I would say, I guess. Because, like, I don't know. Last summer, like, was, like, one of, like, the worst, like, not, like, the worst of my life, but just, like, there were just so many times where I was like, man, like I'm so, like I just need to go like interact with other people that aren't my parents or at work right now. Like I was thinking about like, I would wake up and not see anybody, go to work and like some days just sit in my cubicle or like some days sit in the lab where I worked and like maybe I talked to somebody, but it wasn't like an interesting conversation. It was just like, oh, blah, 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 like what I was doing for work.
Yeah.
And then I would go home, watch Stranger Things with my parents and eat dinner and go to bed. Like I was like, I'm going like a full 24 hours with no like meaningful conversation here. Like it just felt like horrible. And so like one of the things that I'm not so much worried about it anymore because I have more of like a plan in place, but like at the beginning of this past year I was so worried about like what I was going to do after college because I was like I need to be like around friends or like with somebody that I know because like I don't know, last summer I just found myself like how fast can I get back to Columbus this weekend so that I can go like hang out with my roommates. And so like being alone or like not being with friends like really scares me, and I don't, especially because like after college I don't know, but I feel like it'll be a lot harder to just like make random friends because like in college that's what everybody was trying to do at the beginning, like meet new people and make friends, but like if I'm just like at work and in a routine or whatnot, like I feel like it's a lot more of an effort to like go out and like, hey, I'm an adult male, do you want to hang out with me? Like I don't know. So that's probably one of the things that I worry about like the most, but I feel like that worry has lessened a lot recently.
Yeah, glad to hear that part, but I feel last summer my roommates were all in Europe and I went like weeks without talking to anyone outside of work, but yeah, it's harder to make friends in real life. Like I don't know why. Like at the very least, like you're gonna be in person, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like you've got like, I mean, obviously it's not like the same as like, you know, friends, but I mean work friends.
Yeah, somebody.
Yeah. No, but I feel it's especially like everything being so much more virtual and everyone like moving, it's gonna be like it's harder.
Yeah. The last year I would say has been a mental health journey for me. Like I feel like before, maybe it even started with COVID, but like before that I feel like I never once like worried about like mental health or like anxiety to like a great extent. Mm-hmm. Whereas like now I don't think there's like 2 days go by where I'm not like worried, like have like a mini panic attack I would say, or like am super anxious about something or like nervous or find myself like doing something like because of like anxiety. Yeah. And so I don't know, maybe I'm just like more aware of it now or just a more nervous person in general, but I find myself being nervous all the time about just like random shit.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's not like it's getting worse, like I feel like I'm just like more aware of it and like, I don't know, hopefully, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what I was gonna say, but I feel good. Don't worry about me, people who are viewing, if anybody's viewing.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you got some good like coping mechanisms, you know, like know how to deal with it at the very least.
Kind of. I'm getting a lot better at it. Yeah. Therapy has been recommended to me more times than I would like to admit, which is kind of embarrassing. Like half the time when I'm like having like a deep conversation with somebody, like, dude, you need to just like see a therapist. Not like in a bad way, but just like, yeah, I see a therapist, like, I see a therapist and like it helps me with like a lot of my problems. And like I think a majority of my problems just come from the fact that like I just want somebody to dump all my shit onto that is not like, I don't know, like it's not dumping it on my girlfriend every day, so she's just like putting up with like my nonsense. It's like she's
right.
Yeah, people. I just want somebody like to talk through a lot of my stuff with, and people are like, yeah, that's a therapist. Like maybe you should invest in that. So yeah. I think that will be part of my future mental health routine is to have some type of therapy of some kind, or just like somebody to talk to.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to plus one to all those people. Okay, it's a good time.
Yeah,
it's good for your brain. It's like a oil change, but mentally.
Yeah. I feel like, see, that's like, I would love to do it, and I feel like I've always struggled with like the stigma. I feel like that's still like an issue where I've always thought like, man, like I would never want anybody to like find out when like 95% of the people I know who are in therapy like talk about it openly. But like, I would be scared if like, I just feel like if I ever told my parents like, oh man, I like really want to see a therapist, like I'm seeing a therapist, they'd be like, what's wrong? Like, okay, like they would not really understand because it's like it's just a generational thing that's like a little bit different. Like older people it was never like normalized. Like, hey, I'm going to therapy today to talk to my therapist. Like,
or you have a shrink.
Like, yeah, like they think like there's something seriously wrong with you.
Yeah, or I feel like I don't know. My excuse was there's a book called The Defining Decade. It's about like why your 20s are like the most important decade of your life, and it's written by a therapist. And I was like, oh, like this book sounds like therapy is good. I don't have anything crazy going on in my life, but, you know, therapy might be good. And my parents like, okay, I mean, to be fair, I feel like they're more open-minded than others, but I don't know. I get that it's a weird stigma, but I feel like our generation is so much more open about mental health shit. And it's good.
See, also I think that's me just worrying about it too much too. Like my parents probably would just be like, okay, like like that's just me like putting this image in my head of my parents who be like, what's wrong with you? Like I don't know if that's some repressed shit or not, but it's just like they probably would be like, yeah, whatever. Like if it's good for you, whatnot. Like,
I feel like if anything, I'm sure your parents are good parents would be like, you're helping yourself.
Yeah.
What is the hardest thing that's happened to you this past year?
Yeah, I guess to not gripe on the same issue. I mean, last summer was definitely a struggle for me. Like I was counting down the days until I got back to school.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the hardest thing to get through for me. It was just like, which I don't know if that like looks bad, is a bad outlook for my future because like I am going back to Pittsburgh and like I'm currently like talking to a couple friends about living together, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not. And like nobody else that I know was going to be living in Pittsburgh. But like I feel like I'm just going into it with so much more of a different mindset. Like, whereas like I need to focus on like my mental health. Whereas last time I was just like, I'm gonna be all right. Like, come on, I'm just living at home. How hard can that be? Whereas like if you're not actively like working at it, like you just get depressed all on your own. I can't think of like any. For me, like school has never been a big stressor. For me, like I've always just been like, I don't know, naturally gifted is like a very egotistical way of saying it, but just like even if I've had like an exam coming up where I didn't know all the shit or like I felt like I was gonna fail, I just like it just never got to me. I was just always gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be fine. Like it'll work its way out. Like I don't know. So like school has never felt like a horrible like thing for me, or like I've always been lucky with like jobs where they've always just like worked out. Like I got a couple of internships like early on in my academic career, and then ever since then like I've never really had issues with like finding jobs. And so I had my internship last summer, then they offered me a job back. And it was like, okay, so I know a lot of people like in my classes are always worried about like, oh, I don't have a job yet, which is like a very big thing. Like I feel like I'm one of the lucky few who was just like, oh yeah, no, didn't have to worry about that. So like, especially this last year, I think it's been pretty carefree. So I don't know if I have a great worst thing that's happened to me.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear you got through that summer. I know a little bit with my parents, it's different, like but like you said, like, it's weird how like, it takes effort to like not be bad, like in a bad state, it's like whereas like not putting effort is like even worse,
It's just because like when I'm here in Columbus, I don't really have to work on it because it's like I'm seeing like friends every day, we're going out and doing stuff on the weekends. And it's like if I'm not making an act, like there just wasn't like an option last summer because I didn't like really have that. Yeah. But like, it just feels effortless here. Yeah, no, I get it.
I'll say this, now that like all my roommates are dispersed, like the effort to like, text or like visit, what I wouldn't give to just be living without me. I'm not gonna enjoy it while you can. Let's go with that. This especially senior year. Yeah. I don't know if you remember, I had mono my second semester senior year.
Oh, really?
Couldn't drink, couldn't anything for like 3 months.
That sucks.
That shit hurted.
Yeah. Well, I guess that just reminded me. I had mono last summer, so that was also one of the reasons my summer was so shitty. Okay. I was in bed for 3 weeks. Felt like absolute crap.
Dude, I remember asking Adam, like, can you refill my water bottle? I don't think I can go down the stairs, refill it, and come back up. Like, dude, like, mono sucks. Yeah. Like, everyone just is like, oh, like, you can't kiss people. It's like, no, it fucking sucks, dude.
I went to the ER, and first of all, they couldn't diagnose it for, like, forever. Like, couldn't give me a straight answer of what was wrong with me. Like, oh, it was probably just, like, a really bad strep or just a really bad, like, viral thing. And I was like, can you just give me something? And they're like, well, we don't really know what it is, so just keep taking Tylenol. And then, like, a day after I went, and they told me, well, I went there, and they were like, it's probably mono. I was like, well, can we get something better than a probably? But they just didn't. And so I went home, and it just kept getting worse. And, like, there's a point where, like, I literally couldn't sleep because my throat was in so much pain. Yeah. And I couldn't eat. And I was, like, struggling to drink. And, like, my tonsils were literally touching. And I was like, I'm going to, like, die of starvation. And, like, that's just me being dramatic when I was feeling really shitty. But I was like, I need to go back to the hospital. So I went back. And the doctor, I was like, what can you do? They finally said I had mono. And then he was like, well, how much Tylenol are you taking? I was like, oh, I don't know, whatever the recommended amount is. And he's like, oh no, you can take way more than that. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, you need to like triple that dosage and like triple as like frequently as you're taking it. And so once I did that, it was fine. But I was just like, it sucked a lot worse. And it like, also, that was a part of why last summer sucked so bad too, because the week before July 4th, I was supposed to go on a work trip to tour a bunch of aircraft carriers and submarines, which was what I was looking forward to all summer. And then on July 4th, I was supposed to visit my girlfriend in Connecticut for a long weekend. And both of those I had mono during. And so it's like, the two things I've been like, okay, if I can just get to July 4th, like, the summer won't be so bad. I spent sitting in my bed with mono.
That sucks.
Yeah. That was also, I forgot about that. That's another, I didn't even realize that's why that summer was so brutal. Is because literally, like, I literally had, like, a plan, like, okay, just get here and things might not be so bad. And then that got shit on by
Dude, no, I feel
sickness.
I thought I had hepatitis B for like 2 weeks. I don't know, just fuck. I'm not gonna, What's something that made you laugh really hard recently?
When we were in Punta Cana for spring break, I don't even know what we were like giggling about. It felt like we were all high, even though we weren't. We were all, like, we all went to the buffet on the very first night, and we were, like, we all had these full plates, and me and Taylor saw the buffet sushi station, and everything we'd ever heard about buffet sushi went out the window. We were like, oh, we're getting that. Okay. And we filled up our plates, and all of it was terrible. And we were just sitting there, like, taking bites of shit, and just, like, throwing it back on our plate, like, laughing, crying, because it was all, like, the worst buffet food of all time. And I just remember we were, like, laughing, crying, doing that. I mean, we were pretty drunk, too. Also, we were laughing a lot when they had, like, these water slides, and we kept saying, like, oh, I'm gonna clog that thing. And the guy wasn't even watching at the top. So we were just like, you would just press your legs and arms out against the side. We were just stopping in the middle of these water slides. And for some reason, we thought it was the funniest thing, like, on planet Earth. We'd be, like, walking by people after we got out of the water slides, and we'd be like, hey, watch out, some dude just clogged that fucking water slide up there. That water slide's got a huge clog in it. I don't know why we were acting like 2-year-olds. We thought it was the funniest thing ever, but that's one that I could remember recently. We were just dying laughing.
Oh, that's just goofy. I don't know sushi buffet had a whole stigma around it either.
Well, it's just, I don't know, it's just sitting out there, and I feel like raw fish, it's like kind of like gas station sushi.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But clogging were you in, like, was it all like body slides, or was any of them like tube slides?
They were all just body slides. They weren't like big stuff, like it was a pretty small, like little tiny water park, but there was only 4 slides.
Yeah, but you
could tell at the like, the guy at the top, like, he wasn't paying attention a lot, but he was paying attention enough where he was, like, telling people when to go.
Yeah.
And so he would just see nobody come out the bottom, wait 30 seconds, and be like, well, I guess I must have missed him, next person go. And so by the end, like, I think he could tell we were up to something, because, like, we were just going down, like, whenever we wanted to.
Oh, yeah. No, shout out the Punta Cana water slides.
Yeah.
What's your favorite tradition?
Swag Wednesdays is a good one.
It's a good answer.
Not that we don't do it as much, like, often, or at least not like how it used to be.
Yeah.
Like a family tradition, I would say, like, is just like every year for Christmas, we've always had the same schedule, which is like a fuck ton of traveling, where we go to my grandparents in Indiana a couple days before Christmas Eve. We spend Christmas Eve there. On Christmas Eve, we drive back to Pittsburgh at like 9 p.m. We get into Pittsburgh at like 2 in the morning on Christmas Day. And like, I've always remembered that drive of like driving through Pittsburgh at 1 a.m. on Christmas morning when there's nobody around. And then we wake up, do presents on my house as fast as we can at like 9 or 10 in the morning, and then have to drive to Buffalo to get to my grandma's for Christmas. And I always just remember that as like the hectic Christmas traveling tradition. And then at my grandma's after Christmas, the day after, we always went to Niagara Falls. So I've been to Niagara Falls like fucking 20 times, and it gets old, let me tell you.
It's lost the magic of the water going down?
Yeah, it looks the same every year.
Yeah.
And going the day after Christmas is nice. It's nice because there's nobody there, because it's the day after Christmas, and who the hell goes to Niagara Falls the day after Christmas? But my grandma lives 10 minutes away, so it's like, we just drive there.
Yeah.
But the bad thing is, it's fucking freezing, and it's windy, and the wind whips off the top and like blasts your face with like shards of ice. Yeah. And you can't even go to any of the good observation decks, because it's Buffalo, so they're covered in 3 feet of snow, and they just have them closed off, so you can barely see the thing. So we always go, we look at the falls for like 5 seconds, we run down to the American Falls, where there's this big ass statue of Nikola Tesla. We sit on this book that he's holding open, we take a picture, and then we run back to the car. And that's our Niagara Falls trip every year.
That's a goofy ass experience.
Yeah.
I love it.
I remember for last summer, or a couple summers ago, for like the first time in a very long time, we went in the summer and went to the Canadian side, which I haven't done for a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, this is like how it's supposed to be visited. Like, it's nice out here. The Canadian side is actually like clean and well kept. Yeah. And there's like good stuff going on. Like, it was an enjoyable time, not just running as fast as I can in the freezing cold.
Yeah. I shout out to your parents though for driving. Like, I can't imagine the hills in Pittsburgh are great to drive at like during Christmas.
This year was bad. We didn't even make it to Buffalo this year because there was a big ass storm. My grandma had like 6 feet of snow on Christmas Day, so we didn't even get there. But that's the only time I can ever remember not making it to Buffalo was this actual previous year. There's been some really bad years just driving where
soldiered on.
Yeah, I can't sleep in the car either, so I'm always constantly nervous watching my dad drive. I remember as a young child, everybody would be asleep in the car except for my dad, and I would just be awake watching the road because I couldn't sleep. And like, I was like, man, I wish I could fall asleep. It would make this trip a lot easier if I could just sleep and wake up and be at home. But instead, I'm sitting here sweating out this drive.
Yeah, just watching some of the most nervous. Yeah, I mean, snowy ass driving with some. That does not sound ideal.
Snowy driving also freaks me out because I was in an accident when I was younger in the snow in the minivan when my dad and brother were in the car. And still, like the feeling of the snow sliding still like sends shivers up my spine.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's fine. It's not like nobody was like seriously injured, but it's just like literally gives me heebie-jeebies like when you feel the back end come out of the car or something.
No, fuck ice. Honestly, like I'm like you. Like I'm a 4th season person, but like there's 3 things I hate about driving: city driving, campus driving, icy driving. I feel like all I go to is like work or like the gym, and have to drive through campus. So I feel like this past couple months it's just been like the perfect storm of shit. Yeah.
Campus driving is so annoying. I hate the people. But I'm the opposite way. When I'm the pedestrian, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, exactly. This is my campus, I'm walking on it. And then I'm driving, and I was like, please get out of my way. Like, I need to get through here.
Like that one like crosswalk on High Street when I was a pedestrian, I'm like, why the fuck aren't you stopping? Like, come on, I'm clearly walking. And then when I'm the driver, I'm like, get the fuck out of the way. I gotta go. Like, what's going on here? Yeah. Who is your hero?
I remember, so I'm an Eagle Scout, and I remember during it's called like I don't know if you were in Scouts or not, but when you like get different ranks, you have to go through a board of review where like 3 adults it's basically just parents of other Boy Scouts who aren't like leaders in the troop. They're not allowed to be like associated with the troop. So it's like an independent review, I guess. They sit down and they ask you all these questions. It's like an interview basically to see if you're like ready to rank up. Like first you have to fill out all these requirements, and then they ask all these questions to see like, it's basically just an interview to see like if you were good for the next rank. Yeah. And I remember during my Eagle Scout interview, which is like a lot more rigorous, it's like a couple hours, I was doing it in one room, and my parents were just sitting in the other room, listening to all the questions, which made me 1,000 times more nervous. I don't think they were supposed to be doing that. Like it was far enough away where like if they were just having like a conversation, they wouldn't have heard me, but like I'm sure they were listening to every word I said. And the reason I'm saying this now is because I remember one of the questions was like, who is your hero? I had no idea what to say, and like you're not supposed to just like sit there blank like for a while. So I just said my dad, which was like, sure, like I look up to my dad in a lot of ways. Like I'm very similar to him. Like he's probably one of the reasons I went into engineering. Like he teaches me lots of great life skills, but like it was just so awkward talking about like, hey, my dad's my hero. Like that's one of those things where like people are probably like, that doesn't sound awkward, but like for me, like if I was like to explain this to my dad, like that's kind of our relationship. Like it would be super awkward. And so I remember like, I still don't think I really have a great answer for a who's my hero question, but like that was just, I just remember being asked that then, and I panicked. I was like, oh, it's my dad, and the whole time I was thinking like, oh, he's probably out there like laughing at me. But I don't know, like I don't really have like a lot of like I have athletes that I like love, but like I don't know if any of them I would consider like
a hero.
Heroes. Like I have a poster of Sidney Crosby on my wall in my room, but like I just kind of like him because he wins games and Stanley Cups for the Penguins and he scores lots of goals. But I mean, he's a great guy, but is he like my personal hero? Probably not.
No, I get you. I'm the exact same way. I like low-key when I like look at these questions, like that's the one I'm just like I have no idea. Like, what the fuck? But I don't know. I feel like everyone says their parents or like I don't know. It's one of those questions I've dabbled on deleting to get, especially because then that'd be 21 questions and then it could be 50 Cent.
Okay. I feel like if people like either you have like a specific answer for that, and there's like a reason why you have this like specific hero, or people don't like have an answer. Like I just have there's lots of people in my life that I like respect and look up to, and like I like admire for like the way they do things. But there's nobody that like
a hero.
Yeah.
Feels like a similar thing with talent, but I feel like talent people can like come up with something. Whereas like hero, it's like I don't know. If there's one thing I've learned from this past year, it's like the average like famous person, whatever, is like just as dumb as everyone else. Like they're not really like just because they have fame doesn't mean that they're great people.
Right. I think that's another like that's like not that I don't look up to celebrities, but like I'm very cautious with like idolizing celebrities because like who knows like what they'll do in the future, or they're probably not as great as people as they seem, and like fucking Kanye, I mean, that was a lot of people's idol, and there's fucking Kanye now. Yeah. But like, that's like one thing I always think about is like, Mac Miller is my favorite artist ever, and like, I have a bunch of his vinyls, and like, I look up to Mac a lot, and like, I've read a bunch of like Mac shit and like whatnot. Like, that would probably be like one of my idols, I guess, would be Mac Miller. But like, and I've always thought about like, I've always wanted to get a tattoo, but like, I've never thought about, like, I never like seriously looked into like designs or anything. Mm-hmm. I'm just hoping one will come to me magically, which will never happen. But like, if I'm not opposed to getting a tattoo, I guess is what I would say. I would just need something like the right thing. And I've thought about it like, oh, a Mac Miller tattoo would be cool. Yeah. And I always think about like, man, like I would hate to put that on my body for like, God forbid someday something comes out where it's like, man, I gotta get this removed now. Like, not that I think that would ever happen with Mac, but like, it happens with lots of celebrities that people have tattoos of. So like, that's just one of those things where it's like, I struggle to like completely idolize these celebrities because I think shit hits the fan a lot.
Exactly. Like everyone's got their skeletons in their closet, you know, but most people don't have like TMZ to try to figure that out. Yeah. Or a platform to air out their own giant like opinions. Yeah. What's the best thing that's happened to you this past month?
Earlier this month, it was me and my girlfriend's 1 year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That was a good thing. We went to the jazz club, which she's big into jazz. I don't really love jazz that much, but it was a great time. It made me feel like fancy. Like we got in, and it's like this little underground like bar in the short north. And the guy was like, "What's your name?" And then let me get my IDs. And he goes, literally puts his finger up to he's like, "Deutsche Party for Two is here." And then like somebody comes up from the bottom and gets you and takes you down to this like real like cozy like intimate little bar, and then you just like listen to this live jazz and drink fancy drinks for the next 2 hours and pretend like you're a cultured person. But that was a good time, and then we went and had dinner afterwards and whatnot. But that was probably the best thing that's happened in a while. I mean, I don't know. I feel like people are always asking me like what's going on in my life, and like it's like weird to say, but I feel like not a lot like happens. Like I don't know. Like I'm just such a routine recently of just like just getting to the end of college at this point. Like I go out, I have fun times drinking and like fun stories out of it. There's no like major life moments. I feel like recently.
That last semester drift, you know, just get to the end.
Right.
Yeah. No, that sounds like a ton of fun. Like jazz club, I don't know, I just saw La La Land, and so like jazz is like somewhat interesting to me now. Yeah. I'm more in your boat where it's like I don't like it, but I kind of understand the appeal now.
Right.
I don't know.
Like it was like fun to listen to, and like being there, I appreciated it a lot more. It's just like when I say I don't really love jazz, it's like I'm not putting jazz on my Spotify playlist like every day and walking around. Whereas like Katie probably does that, so it's like I don't know.
What do you think your past self would think of you now?
If you told him like exactly like my future plans, I don't think my past self would be very surprised. He'd be like, "Oh, you're graduating. That was the plan. You got a job. That was the plan. Moving back to Pittsburgh." They might be a little bit surprised. I don't think they would be surprised, but they would be like, "Oh, okay, whatever."
Yeah.
I think if you like looked at the individual details of my life, like on a day-to-day basis, they'd be like, "You're a degenerate," like, with some of the shit that we get up to. But I think past Aaron would be proud. I don't know what past Aaron would think. I was like, in some ways, I feel like I'm a completely different person than freshman year of college. Where in other ways, I'm like, I'm probably not that different at all. Yeah. And it's like hard to like explain, but it's just like, I feel like you always look back on your former self, and you're always like, man, they were so embarrassing. Like they were doing like cringy shit. It's like, well, in 2 years, I'm probably gonna be doing the exact same thing about like how I am now. Yeah. And so it's like, I don't know what my past self would think. I'm sure he would be proud, but I don't think there's like anything like dramatically different about me. This is an interesting question because I often do think about the changes that have occurred like during college. Like, not that, like I said, not like there's like these big ones, but like I just feel like college is such a weird experience. Like you're just like comparing yourself over this 4-year time span where everybody is like finding out who they are.
Yeah.
Like so much is happening too. Like literally, like there's probably so many stories and so many events throughout my college life that I've forgotten that like I'll never remember just because like I feel like college is so jam packed where it's like every weekend we're going out twice a weekend, maybe 3 times, and like we're doing shit like during the week or like whatnot where it's like I can't possibly remember all of that. So I just feel like there's just so much stuff that happens that like I don't even know what it is, but
your like brain capacity to remember like all of the shit that happens. Like there's when things are constantly going on, something's got to get pushed out.
Yeah, I also have a horrible memory.
Oh, me too.
Like the worst. But I don't think there's anything that would really surprise my past self. I feel like I'm a pretty vanilla person when it comes to like major life things. Like when it comes to like partying or doing whatnot, I can have my like crazy moments, but I don't think there's anything like major that I've changed over the past 4 years or even longer. I guess my younger self, I don't know what he would think, but.
So, like larger strokes, you stayed the course. It's some of the details that just change a little bit.
I feel like that's something that's like a part of like a product of my parents has always been like make a plan, like follow through it. And I feel like I've taken a very safe plan, which is like I enjoy math and science and engineering. I go to school to get a mechanical engineering degree. I've gotten good internships, lead to a job. Like just follow the path. Like boring as it sounds, like
it works.
Yeah, like I don't, like I'm not super passionate about like engineering in general. Like I enjoy doing it, and like I feel like I'm good at it. But I'm not like this is like my dream job. Like I don't really have a dream job. I dream of doing things outside of work. And so it's like just sort of been like, what's the easiest way to graduate college and get a good job and set myself up to be able to do what I want outside of work. And so I feel like past self would be like, yep, on your way, no major missteps. You haven't gotten expelled or arrested or anything of the sort.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
That's not it.
No. What do you think? Is this drywall?
Probably.
Yeah.
Just a picture on it.
Yeah. Makes sense. I don't know. Sometimes I kind of forget that there's a giant like propeller right here. What do you think your purpose in life is?
I mean, like, generically, I would say I feel like most people's purpose is just to, like, make the world a better place than they found it.
Yeah.
Not that we're really achieving that, and not that I think I have achieved that, really, in my own practices, but for me, I feel like my purpose is just to have a good time and try to make the other people around me also have a good time. Like, I don't know. It's probably a, what's the word, like, naive viewpoint on life, but like I don't really believe there's a bigger picture out there, and like sure, yes, a better person would devote themselves to like helping others all the time, and like I try to do that when I can. I've definitely not done as much as I used to, like when I was in Boy Scouts or in Mount. Like I did a lot more volunteering than I do now. Yeah. But like I guess helping other people would be probably something that I would want to do more with the rest of my life. But like as far as my like full life goal, I just want to be happy and like have others around me be happy. And I don't think like I feel like if that's all I get, that's enough to ask for my lifetime. Yeah. Like I'm not striving for some like end goal. I guess it's just like
just take care of yourself and take care of the people you care about.
Yeah.
Are you fulfilled?
Right now, I'm filled up like a cream pie. I would say yes and no.
What's up?
Because I feel like I feel like I need something, like a hobby or something, which is, maybe that's too specific what I'm thinking about, like fulfilled in my life. But I feel like even doing this interview, it makes me feel like insecure, like man, there's not very many interesting things about me, or like I feel like I don't have like a lot of cool stuff like going on in my life, and like I wish I had like something like cool or interesting, or like a hobby I was dived into, or like something unique that I was like really good at. And like, so like I'm fulfilled in terms of like, I'm very happy with my life, I'm happy with the way it's going, I like the outlook of my future is like where I want it to be. But like on like a day-to-day basis, like if I find myself with like 3 hours to kill, and I didn't have like any homework or anything to do, it's like, what am I gonna do with my time? Like, kind of wish I had something like a passion. I don't really feel like I have a passion.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's part of your 20s. Like once you like or stop being around all your friends, it's like figuring out how to be by yourself more. You know, like I'm in a very similar spot, and my answer so far has just been buying a shit ton of records.
Yeah.
I don't think that's sustainable.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Well, like you said, I feel like people figure out their hobbies later in life. I don't know if my dad even has hobbies. Like he's 59, so
Right.
there's time, to say the least.
Yeah. I like collecting records. I definitely will get into reading more when I'm outside of school. Like that's something I did a lot last summer. Was like a lot of reading because I just feel like when I'm in school, I can't justify spending time reading if I could spend that time doing homework. It's so hard to just like read recreationally if you have other shit going on.
There's also like so many other things you'd rather do other than reading.
Right.
Especially considering, you know, like on campus, it's not like the most ideal reading situation when you got like, you know, your neighbors playing music or some going on or like this, that, the other. Like, so I agree with you. Like last summer when campus was quiet, reading was good.
Yeah. That's what I like to do at work. When I was at well, I'm probably not supposed to be reading at work, but during lunch, like, we weren't allowed to, like, sit with anybody else, because I guess it was still technically COVID.
Yeah.
So I would just sit in my cube and read during lunch, and so I got a lot of reading done that way, and I was doing these tests all summer where I would just have to monitor something, like, all day long, and there was, like, not a lot of work involved, and I was just kind of in this lab all by myself, so I would just sit down there and read and hope that a supervisor didn't walk in and see me just, like, sitting there with my feet up reading, but I do enjoy reading. Not that I think that's really, like you said, I don't know if reading or listening to vinyls or even cooking is really that, like, sustainable of a passion. Like, it's something you do, but, like, I don't know if it's something that I can, like, make my personality or, like, have life fulfillment by. I feel like I just get fulfilled by just, like, having a good time with other people.
I think that's, I think connections in general are just such an important part of life, you know? Like, there's a reason that, like, we're societies and not just, like, individual people.
Right.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. No. You can definitely pull holes in that, but where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years, both personally and professionally, but mostly personally?
I'll start with professionally because that's a lot easier, because I feel like I laid it out already, because, like, hopefully, unless something crazy happens in 3 years, I'll be graduated, like, with a master's degree from some university and finishing my program at my job. After that, I don't really know what I would want to do, like, professionally, because, like, while I enjoy my job, I don't really want to live in Pittsburgh forever. They have options to, like, move to different locations. I don't really love working for the U.S. government. It is what it is, like, but it's not, like, my ideal profession, or line of work, I guess, is working for the government. And so I could see myself in 5 years working somewhere else. Like, that's a big part of, like, why I wanted to get my master's degree, because it's like, you know, I'm going to have this job pay for it, they're going to give me a whole bunch of experience, then I could probably, like, go a lot more different places and, like, market myself better for, like, a better job.
Yeah.
And I could see myself living elsewhere, so professional side's kind of boring, but I wouldn't be surprised if I was still working there in 5 years, but either way I wouldn't be surprised if I was still working there or if I was somewhere completely different.
Yeah.
Personally, I can't imagine myself married or with kids.
27 is an interesting age for that, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I know a lot of people, like, that's a similar, around then they start, or, like, I mean, there's some people I know now who are married, but put that aside. And I feel like it's something that, like, me and my girlfriend share, at least, is that, like, we are in absolutely no rush to get married or have kids or even talk about it. We're a college couple 1 year in, like, you probably wouldn't even want me talking about this, but it's whatever. I can't imagine, like, having kids or getting married, like, by then. Not that I'm, like, opposed to either of those things. Maybe kids, I don't know. Depends how shitty our world gets in the next 5 years. I've always been back and forth. Like, I love kids. I've always, like, imagined a future as a father with kids, because I feel like that's what most people imagine. But, like, I don't know. Sometimes it worries me when I see, like,
the future.
It's gonna be shit. Even kids right now annoy me when they're on their fucking phones when they're in 4th grade or whatnot. It's like, I don't know. that's already me talking like an old grandpa, I guess, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like my childhood and like, I guess everybody feels like this, was like ideal. Like it felt like great. Like I had like a normal childhood where we played outside. I really sound like a grandpa right now, but like, and then we did shit, and then like the phones came around when I was like in like middle school, going into high school, maybe a little bit younger than that, but like, I don't know, I just can't imagine, and I guess this is the 22-year-old me talking, I can't imagine raising a child and having them come out as a good person at this moment. So maybe 5-year me would be different, but I'd want to be surrounded by friends and family, I guess. Hopefully I'm a better chef. I just don't think I'll be all too different of a person. I don't know. You're just making me think I'm a boring person now, Landon.
You're not a boring person. You're like the opposite. You're like one of the most interesting people I know.
I just feel like there's not like anything crazy unique about my life, and then in 5 years it's gonna be like, yep, he followed this plan.
Yeah.
He's working at his job, may or may not be in a relationship. He has his fun little hobbies. He's got his clean apartment.
Well, I mean, think about it like this: like everyone spends 100% of their time with themselves. I don't think anyone would find themselves like super interesting, considering that they know like the mundane parts of their life. Whereas like, I don't know, like think about your friends. Like how often do you see them doing just the washing dishes or like, you know, do vacuum? These are all cleaning things. Like the more mundane parts where it's just like not that cool, not that interesting. You hear about, you know, like the really fun parts and all this shit. Like you always like, you know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
What do you want to have done by the next time we film a podcast episode? I don't know when that'll be, but I'm saying 3+ years from now.
We'll be able to dunk a basketball. Have you ever heard about the debate we've had about me dunking a basketball?
No, what is this?
I
thought you were just fucking around, I'm not gonna lie.
No, I mean, that's not an actual goal, but
Okay.
It reminded me of this because I always think about, I've told Timmy before, like, if I wanted to, I could dunk a basketball. Like, if I set myself to it. He was like, you would never be able to dunk a basketball. Mm-hmm. And so we got in this debate where it's like, if you gave me like a set period of time where resources were no issue, like I didn't have to go to work, like I could literally have a personal trainer and a personal chef, like a private court, any facilities I needed, and I was just training as hard as I could for the specific goal of dunking a basketball. I was like, I could get it done in 3 months. You could give me 1 summer and I'd be able to dunk a basketball. And Timmy thinks I'm the most insane person on planet Earth. But I think it could be done. What do you think?
I probably have a 2-inch vertical, so like, I'm completely the wrong person to ask. I don't know. I mean, I think if you really invest yourself in plyometrics, you probably could. But I mean, the question is like,
in a realistic scenario?
In a realistic scenario where you have work and like, I don't know, you don't have like 5 hours a day to just train like box jumping and like all this shit, like.
Probably not. So in 3 years, I probably won't be able to dunk a basketball.
I think if you did in college, there's a better chance, just considering it's like college. It's like, you know, you have so much more free time. Or even high school. Like, I don't know, I feel like as we get older, until we retire, our free time just gets less and less, but yeah.
I think I want to have a much more clear vision of where I want to live. Because right now, I know I do not want to live in Pittsburgh for the rest of my life. So hopefully in 3 years, I'll know. That is probably one of, like, when I think about worries, that's one thing that worries me, I guess, going back 30 questions, but like, I worry a lot about like just being around people that I know. And so in 3 years, hopefully, I don't know. I wonder if like my friend group will still be the same. Like I know it won't be, but like I wonder if I'll still be in touch with like a lot of my roommates or.
Yeah.
A lot of these questions make me think about like the relationship I'm currently in and what it will be like then. Mm-hmm. But I don't really want to speculate about that. I don't really want to like. That's not something I really want to like talk about because it's just like. It feels weird without the other person here to be like talking about my future without them.
Well, luckily we got special guests.
But I would imagine in 3 years something would have happened in my relationship if I'm still in it, like moving towards a more serious, like moving in together or living together or whatnot. So I don't think I have a lot of specific life goals.
Like I said, it's your 20s. You fly by the seat of your pants. There's not much you can really plan.
Yeah. Especially just because I'm like going back to school for, it's going to be 3 more years of master's. Like 3 years will be exactly when I'm like finishing up, hopefully, my master's. Like, I feel like I'm going to feel like when I'm at work, like during this program that I'm in, like I'm gonna be going to work, going to the gym, and going to school, and then like either living by myself or with like a roommate who's a friend, like not like a significant other.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not gonna feel too different from college. Like this doesn't feel like a great like moment of change in my life for me, even though it will be.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm not becoming an adult yet, even though I am like going to work. Like I don't know why, it just makes it feel like it's not like now you're an adult, like living in the real world. Like I feel like I'm still gonna be
It's like a half
the
step
same
almost.
routine. Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of just going like how other people go like from school to work, it's like you're still doing school.
Right.
But also, I mean, I was in the exact same spot. Like, it's that weird like half reality of having the real world, but then all at the same time like still having to like do homework and like go to class and all that shit.
Until I'm fully done with school, I don't think I'll ever feel. I don't think anybody ever feels like an adult until it's like too late to realize. But like, I don't think. While I'm still like taking classes and shit, I don't think I'll ever really feel like now I'm an adult in the real world.
I gotcha. Well, that's the last of the conversational parts I have. Wrapping up, I've got some quick hitters for you.
Okay.
So, first thing comes to mind. If you need time to think, go for it. Just try not to overthink it.
Okay.
Right. This is a moment in the mind of Aaron Frankowicz. What's a song that's stuck in your head recently?
The first thing you came to that, when you said what's a song, the first thing that came to mind was like, all right, I'm gonna name a Mac song.
Yeah.
And so I have been on a Mac kick recently. Normally I go through like phases of my life where it's like, man, Mac Miller is the best artist of all time. I'm gonna listen to his songs on repeat all day.
Yeah.
And then I would be like, man, I'm a little bit bored with Mac. But he always comes back around. That's why he's Mac Miller. He always comes back around.
Almost.
Yeah, it's a circle. Yeah, I'm swimming in circles.
Yeah. What's I guess
Bad Bunny though. When we were Bad Bunny has been hot right now on my playlist.
Really?
Yeah. I'm gonna say if I have to name one song, I'm gonna put down Después de la Playa, or I don't even know if that's the word, but that by Bad Bunny. Future me will know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Vamos a la Playa by Bad Bunny. I've been on a Bad Bunny kick recently.
Oh yeah. Well, shout out to Bad Bunny and shout out to Mac.
Yeah.
What's one of your favorite quotes or lyrics?
Well, I'll say off the bat, I've always been the worst with lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
I never understand what anybody's saying. I never remember lyrics. Like, there's very few songs where I could sing every single lyric to. As much as like I like Mac, I still don't even know lots of his lyrics. And my girlfriend, she is a big Mac fan too, but she like loves the lyrics, and every song she listens to is like straight to the lyrics, like read them and like analyze them. And for me, that's the complete opposite way that I listen to music. Like I'm just like I'm listening to it and I can tell right away if I like it or if I don't like it.
Yeah.
And like if it has a good meaning, that's a bonus. If it doesn't really matter to me. Like I don't really get into the lyrics. I don't really have like a ton of like favorite lyrics, I would say. We have lots of quotes and sayings that we've come up with like amongst our roommates that we just like say shit like randomly, but I would have a better answer for you on this one, but I don't.
Oh, no worries. So I know about Mac lyrics. Have you heard of the Dissect podcast?
Mm-hmm. I've listened to all of it.
You listened to the season?
Yeah.
Okay. I just finished that, and yeah, it's even better. Like having all that like layered shit, like you said, like it's a bonus.
That does help me. Like that was like one of the things where that I enjoyed like a lot, but I don't know if I would want that for like every song I've ever listened to.
Yeah.
Because it was like a really deep dive like into the lyrics, and I remember I always go. There's an episode of that I go back and listen to like every once in a while. It's the one about So It Goes.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my favorite episodes because it's the last song on Swimming.
Yeah.
And just like the way, like I don't know, I just really enjoy that episode of that podcast. And have you listened to any other seasons of that podcast?
Yeah. I found it like a couple months ago, and I just I've been running through it. I think I'm now fully caught up. Like, cause when I started, they were just starting Igor, and so like now it's like finally just gotten in the rotation where it's like with the other releases, whereas like before I just like I think starting in like November till like probably last month, all I listened to was Dissect as a podcast.
Really?
Like, cause like I just had. There's so many seasons where I was like, fuck, I want to listen to that.
Yeah, I only listened to the Mac one, and then I listened to the Bo Burnham season, which I really enjoyed a lot because it's kind of a little bit different than just like a straight album, because it's like a movie, not an album. And I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, I was debating on listening to that one. I think I might have skipped that one. I know I skipped the Beyonce season, the Kanye seasons, although I probably would have loved that like a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't know, some other shit, but I don't know. It's a good podcast. If you're looking for another podcast, it's not this. Dissect. I'm not sponsored. What's the best show or movie you've seen in the past month?
Cowboy Bebop. It's not, I don't know if it's exactly the past month, but recently that's the show that I watched. It's only like, I think it's like 25 or 26 episodes.
Yeah.
Just a classic anime, groundbreaking for its time. It was really, really good.
Oh yeah. What's the best thing you binged recently?
Me and Jared binged the Murdoch Murders or whatever, like the documentary on Netflix. Not really much of a binge, there's only 3 episodes. I don't know, it's so hard to say like binging recently because I don't binge like a lot of things. Like I've only, in the past year and a half, I've only watched 2 shows because I've like committed myself to like these long ass things.
Yeah.
So
like Naruto.
Yeah. Naruto has been the best thing I binged recently because that was a full year binge. Like,
yeah.
I can't believe I watched it like as fast as I did. Like, not that I'm like like there's other people who watched it faster, but like I was watching a lot of Naruto.
Except One Piece.
Oh no, I won't do One Piece.
Yeah.
I've heard about that.
No, dude, I don't think you could finish One Piece like even if you started. There's too many episodes of that shit. I don't know how people do it. What's the best book you read recently?
The book I'm currently working on, which I still have yet to finish from last summer, because I don't, like I said, I don't really, once the school year hit, I just stopped reading it.
Yeah.
It's called This Is How You Change Your Mind or something, or it's like How to Change Your Mind or something. And it's this like guy who's researching psychedelics, and it's about the history of psychedelics. And he goes in, like the first half of the book is all about like, the history of psychedelics and how they used to be used for all kinds of like medical research, and they were showing all these like promising results. And then like once hippies got a hold of them, they got kind of a bad name, and the war of drugs like cracked down on them, and so all like the medical research got cut off, even though like they've been shown to be like very effective for like therapy and like treating people with PTSD and like whatnot. Mm-hmm. And so they're like coming back into more of the mainstream now. Like there's more and more studies happening like every year, and like they're becoming more like able to be used for research purposes. And so he talks about that. And then the second half of the book is all about like his personal like experiences trying each of these different like psychedelics, which I've never taken any psychedelics, but they always seem to like appeal because like the way they talk about them, like they're like relatively safe and you can't OD on psychedelics. Yeah. And like some people just have these like profound experiences, and like not the guy in the book didn't really, but he interviews these people who talk about like it's this life-changing thing, and that interests me. Yeah. So I only read I rarely read anything that's not nonfiction. Yeah. I really rarely read any fiction. If I do, it's going to be sci-fi.
I'm in a similar boat. I think nonfiction is so much more interesting than like the world people can create.
A lot of my books that I have, like my personal collection of books, is like a lot of them are math related or science. Math and science like to make up most of the books I have, which is like dorky or whatever.
Oh, fuck. I mean, there's a reason, I don't know, like Vsauce and like shit like that, just like, it gets my brain going. I fucking love it.
My YouTube subscriptions is like a math nerd's nightmare.
Yeah. Dude, I don't know. I found this one called Computer File, where it's like, not only did it help, like, is it interesting, but it also helped me study for my certification exam. Yeah. So it's like a 2-in-1 combo. It's like I get to like better myself and be like entertained. Fuck yeah.
Computer File and Number File. Do you know Veritasium? Yeah. I was literally watching his video walking to class today because I couldn't put it down. I didn't want to wait till later to finish it. It was about quantum computing.
Oh yeah. I remember my Foundations of Higher Mathematics class, which was like my favorite math class I've ever taken. I was dreading it so much because it was all proof based, but it's like, yeah. But it was shout out to Professor Hunley. But like I was so worried about that class, like I said. But it was like binary calculus and like stuff like that, but ended up like getting like so much more in depth. But remember we talked about like different levels of infinities, and I was like, hey, like I think so. Like he's the only male professor I've ever been able to be like, hey, thank you. Yeah. Like you were sick. Also, here's this like video for like that I think helps explain like different levels of infinities. Like thank you, I'm gonna use this in, like for future classes. And I was like, yeah, let's go. But no, I agree. Like learn it. Like there's something about learning and like just all the shit out there in the world that like there is to like learn. Like it's crazy you can spend like 1 million lifetimes just at Ohio State and not learn everything here.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. What is your current or most recent job?
I don't have a current job, but my most recent job, which I did last summer, which I'm currently doing next summer, is working for the Naval Nuclear Laboratory. They make nuclear reactors for submarines and aircraft carriers. last summer I should tread lightly because it is a classified job and I have a security clearance, but not that I really worked on anything classified, but we'll just say I do test engineering, so I just run tests that they need to be done on different equipment or whatnot, and I take data and analyze it and then make reports about it.
Oh yeah.
And then in the future I don't even know what department I'm going to work for, I'll be all over the place.
I gotcha. Do you want kids, and if so, how many? No, we talked about it earlier.
Yeah. Most direct answer, yes, 2.
Gotcha. Do you have a favorite conspiracy theory?
Helen Keller was not blind or deaf at the same time. She's not a real person.
Couldn't have been all of them.
Yeah.
What's your favorite spot to eat nearby, whether it be sit down or fast food?
First thing that came to mind was Sushi Time, which is a sushi restaurant up in like the Old North. Not that I really eat there that much, but I really love sushi. It's not really my go-to though. The restaurants I can't pick. Like, there's just too many. That's one thing I feel like I'm really, really gonna miss about Columbus. I'm sure Pittsburgh has great restaurants, but like, I feel like I'm finally getting to know, like, here are the good spots, like, this is where I should go, like, and like getting my way to know around it, but I'll just say Sushi Time for now, because I love sushi.
Shout out Sushi Time. Side note about Pittsburgh, you guys have great restaurants. I don't know what you're talking about. Like,
no, I said I don't know, like, I never lived, like, in downtown.
Okay.
So, like, my house is not very close to downtown Pittsburgh, and not planning on living downtown, so.
No, I mean, like, you got, in my opinion, the 2 best burger spots in the world between Burgatorium and BRGR, and you got Permanis. Like, I love Pittsburgh. Just, I have a lot of friends, or grew up having a lot of friends there, and went to a lot of good-ass restaurants. So,
I want some pierogies, that sounds good. I'm sure I can find some.
There's a Pierogi Mountains on Summit Street, but it's the sketchiest fucking restaurant I've ever been to.
Really?
My parents wanted to go for so long. I was just like, we should not be here.
Was it good?
It's alright. It was not with the sketch. What's something that you think is underrated?
PBR.
Like the beer?
Yep. I love PBR. It's the only beer I drink, and everybody clowns on me for it. It's a great beer. It's a great price. People who think they're all high and mighty drinking their Bud Lights and their Natty Lights, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. They taste the same, and PBR is cheaper. So I'm going to go with PBR.
You and my sister.
That's passed down from my dad, though. He was a PBR drinker. And so
you grew up with a PBR, you acquired the taste.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
I think that's underrated. I think all cheap alcohol is underrated. I think people are too picky with it.
I agree. I mean, if you're drinking to get drunk, like, does it really matter, like, how good that drink is? Like, if it gets you to your destination, that's what counts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's your biggest hot take?
I was gonna say I like flying like low budget airlines, but I won't say I like flying them. I don't mind it. I don't mind flying Spirit or Frontier. I just flew Frontier literally to Punta Cana last time. I think people hate on them way too much, and like in the past, I can't remember the last time I flew with a check bag or even a carry-on. I've always gotten away with the little tiny personal item, and I stuff it under my seat, and that's a trick passed down from my cheap mother, who taught me just to save a buck wherever I could. And so I literally always fly on cheap airlines with shitty seats and like ridiculous bag fees because I can get the ticket for cheap and then I don't pay for anything else. I just get my stupid little personal item. And so I think that's a hot take. I think some people would agree that or some people would say that it's not worth it.
Yeah, no, my buddy, Madzik, his dad, like, flies Delta, like, he's a pilot, and he just, like, refuses to fly, like, Spirit, Frontier, but, whereas, I just went out to LA, round trip, like, to and from LA, both nonstop flights, by the way. I had a checked bag because I was there for, like, a week, and I don't think I could get away with that with a, like, personal item, but, like, just a smidge over $200.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be possible, like, like Spirit, or my parents are like Southwest people, and it was like $700.
Right.
Like I do
I can't justify the price.
I will not have like whatever snack and like drink that they give me that is not worth $700. Like, come on.
Yeah. I think my last answer could also have fit for
Hot take.
PBR is good. I think a lot of my food and drink choices would qualify as hot takes because what do I always do that they always give me shit? Oh, I prefer my hot dogs boiled. That's my preferred method of hot dog cooking, and my roommates always give me shit because I love a good boiled dog.
Boiled dogs give me like nostalgia, but I would never like do it myself kind of thing.
That's the only way I can.
That's all right. I feel like that is a hot take. Yeah.
It's the best way.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
Sloppy coding.
Coding?
Freaks me out. When we're in lab, this has happened for the past 2 semesters. I've had these measurement labs where you're just taking data and then you analyze it in MATLAB.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot stand to not be the one in control of MATLAB. Like looking over somebody's shoulder, watching them code, even if they're the most brilliant coder in the world, if it's not organized the exact way that I would do it, it literally freaks me. I literally get physically uncomfortable. Like there's been plenty of, this whole semester, we work on our labs together as a group and then you split off and do your lab report on your own.
Yeah.
And almost every single time, unless I was the one who wrote the code in lab, I just pull up their code next to me that we worked on together. That way, I know how to do it.
Yeah.
And then I retype it all myself, no matter how long it was, because I need it to be organized the way that I need it. So that's more OCD, I guess, than a pet peeve. But I can't stand to watch people do other things in the way that I would do them, just organizational wise. Even if it's perfectly fine, even if it gets the job done, I need it to be a certain way.
Good luck in the real world.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. Speaking from experience, real world, software developers, not even 10% of what they do in the real world is making code. It's always refactoring or fixing someone else's code. I agree with you though. I was supposed to, or my last project I was on, I was supposed to be with one other person. It ended up being me doing all the coding. She did the documentation because I just I don't know. I feel you. There's a right way to do shit.
Yeah.
Sure, there's a bunch of wrong ways to do it, but in my opinion, there's like you said, there's a fucking right way to do it.
Right.
Organize it well.
I want anybody to be able to pick up my code and read it.
Exactly.
Because I want to be able to do that to other people's code, but that's not the way it usually goes.
Hell, I want to be able to pick up my own code in a couple months and read it. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know, people I've been told I overcomment, but in my opinion, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
If anything, that is a good thing. I know way too much about my stuff looking at it. Fuck it. That's okay. That's cool with me.
I agree.
Yeah. What's your biggest insecurity?
Probably that I'm a boring person.
Mm.
That my life is vanilla. There's nothing spectacular about me.
Still disagree with you. What's your favorite quality about yourself?
I think I know how to have a good time.
It's a fact. What's your favorite outfit?
I really love this sweater. I put it on today because I knew I'd be on here and I knew it would be comfortable. I thought about it, I was like, what should I wear today for Landon's podcast? Do I need to look nice? I don't think that's really a concern.
Yeah.
My favorite pair of pants are these thrifted cargo pants. I love cargo pants. That's another reason why I like cold weather. I want to be able to wear big ass, baggy, thick pants and sweaters. You can't do that.
Not just shorts.
Yeah. And then, my cargo pants are my favorite pants, and not that I would wear them together. I mean, sometimes I do, but a jean jacket is, not a jean jacket, more like a jean shirt I have that I thrifted as well. All my clothes that are my favorite are thrifted stuff, so.
Any shoes to go along with that?
I've never been, big into shoes. I just kind of get, plain New Balances. I don't know. I never really, I have a pair of, white shoes that almost kind of look like the standard white,
The Adidas?
Air Forces, standard Air, basically, they're kind of like that, is what I mean. So, I should probably improve my shoe game, but I have.
I'm in a similar situation. I've been told I need specific shoes to work out. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
These bitches go everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. As much as I do like the items that I named, fashion is one thing where I don't really care too much about. At work, I wear jeans and a polo every day, or dress pants and a polo every day. And then, school, I don't really care with what anybody thinks about, the way I look. I've never, if I'm comfortable, then I don't really care.
Yeah.
That's how I've always felt with fashion.
It's a great answer. What's your biggest hobby?
I would say my biggest hobby is probably watching animated TV shows. That's what I spend my most time doing. If it's not that, it's reading. I've never been big into video games. I have a Switch. Mm-hmm. The only game I've ever had on it is Legend of Zelda, which I beat, which took me way too long to beat because I barely ever played it. I've never been a big video gamer, I guess.
Yeah, outside of Mario Kart.
Yeah, Mario Kart probably actually is my biggest hobby. I wonder if you could see how many hours you've logged on a Wii.
Yeah.
Because
on a Wii, I don't know.
Yeah, because we have probably I'm surprised our thing hasn't caught on fire yet. Especially for the amount of nights we've just left it running for the entire night. But we do play a lot of Mario Kart. That might be one of my biggest hobbies.
It's a great hobby to have. You're stuck on a deserted island. You can only bring one thing. Any technology you have doesn't have cell service. You can't push bring like a boat. Like outside of that, anything goes. What are you bringing?
And then I guess I'm bringing a record player in the world's collection of records. And I'm just gonna sit there and listen to them all.
Hell yeah! Like you said, you can have a good time.
Oh, damn it! I should have said, could I add a case of PBR with that record player? Unlimited beer, please. I need to go to drink.
You gotta choose. Let's say like 5 cases of beer or 5 records. Now let's go with that.
I gotta go with the records then because that'll offer me more long-term enjoyment than the beer would. Plus the beer would get warm.
Yeah, and you run out of beer. You don't run out of playing songs to play. Technically you do, but you don't.
Yeah.
Who are your best friends?
My roommates. All of them. I don't think I have a specific one.
Yeah. B-Hawk is 3 for 3 when saying each other.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah. What's something that you're curious about?
Aliens. I know they're out there, I think. But like, I'm curious if we will ever see them in our lifetime or make contact with them. I don't know. That's something I'm curious about. Space is so fascinating.
So big. So giant. What's something that you have to do every day?
Something I have to do every day would probably be listen to music then. If I would say it's pretty rare I go a day without listening to music.
It's a good answer.
If like I'm walking anywhere, like if my AirPods die and I'm walking to class, it's like shit, the day is ruined because I'm supposed to walk around without AirPods in, like some kind of weirdo.
No, I feel you. Like the worst is like at the very end of your workout when your AirPods die and you have like one more thing to do.
Yeah.
It's just like gym music.
Yeah, the RPAC music, you would think they would get somebody to like make a hot playlist for that.
It's
like a college
shit.
student who knew what they were doing to make a playlist that's like good. But it's just random crap that's not good.
Before I had AirPods, like I had the over the head headphones, and they're just like not good for working out because they slide. It's hot.
Yeah.
And so I just like worked out without headphones at the RPAC, and it was just like I felt like an NPC. Like just listening to the most generic, boring ass music.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Good. Listening to good music every day is definitely a good thing to have. What's your proudest accomplishment?
At a point in time, I would have said being an Eagle Scout. Not that was like, I feel like that used to always be like a bigger thing. Like I feel like people don't appreciate it as much anymore because when I did it, like the way like my troop, like they kind of just like pushed everybody through the system. I feel like it was just like you're gonna do it. Like you're gonna be like everybody just became an Eagle Scout. Whereas like the national statistics are like very low for percentage of Boy Scouts who become Eagle Scouts. So people think it's like really hard. But it like wasn't like the most difficult thing in the world, but I don't know why that came to mind because it's not like that really affects me on a daily basis. Sometimes employers mention it when they see my resume, but like
It's a fun story.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably just most proud of my like academic record because it's not spotless, but like it's been very good. And if I think about like the amount of my life that I've spent like to achieving a good academic record, like it's significant. Like even going back to high school and like shit like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What's one thing you want to own?
I've never been one for like a sports car would be really cool, but like actually, you know what? That probably is a good answer.
I didn't mean to lead you into that.
I know, but like I've just always thought like in my life I've never envisioned myself like getting a sports car because even if I was like very very wealthy,
I
would have to be insanely wealthy to like start spending money on cars because this is like my financial mother coming into my head, but it's like if you have something that can get you from point A to point B, just like you don't have to like spend $1 million on some fancy ass car that like takes expensive gasoline. It needs to be like serviced all the time.
Yeah.
A Formula One car would be cool to own, even though I don't know how to drive it.
Be a cool thing to have.
I guess if anything, it would probably just be like a house in a really cool location, like top of a mountain, or like a farm all to myself, or like in Monaco, right on top of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, that would be cool. Speaking of, actually, what do you think the price of gas will be by the next time we film?
I'll say $5 a gallon. in Columbus, Ohio.
Hope that's not true, but there. I mean, considering this past summer, it might be.
Yeah.
Where do you want to visit next?
I'm going to Europe soon, so I'll just take that off the board. Well, actually, the two places I've always wanted to really, really visit were New Zealand and Japan. I don't know if I could decide between the two. I would just say New Zealand or Japan.
Both great answers.
Yeah.
Really, Japan seems sick.
Japan would be really, really cool for like the culture and like the food and even some like the natural stuff. Like they have like some of those like ski resorts in like the mountains that like spas and shit. But New Zealand would be like really, really cool for like sightseeing, like landscapes and like geological shit would be really cool.
No, I agree.
And Australia for that matter too.
Yeah. There's the whole, what is that called? I want to say it starts with an A. That like area of Australia and New Zealand.
The land down under.
Something like that. I don't know. Oceania?
I think that's what it's called.
Oh, okay, I knew it started with a vowel. Definitely wasn't that. What's one piece of advice you have for yourself, for the world, for me, whoever?
I guess don't worry so much. Just not worry about like. I feel like most things that I've ever been like super worried or stressed out in my life, and I look back on them, I'm like, man, that's really wasn't such a big deal. And I feel like in the moment, if you can like step away from something and be like, all right, is this the end of my life, or is this a minor inconvenience? Like, do I really need to worry about it? So that's what I would say. Don't worry so much.
That's a good answer. And last but not least, top 5.
I'm always ranking TV shows in my head, and so when you first thing you meant when you said top 5, I thought, okay, my top 5 TV shows. Even that's not what I'm going to do, but I'm going to give you my top 1 TV show, which is Avatar: The Last Airbender. We'll put that at number 1 just because it's the first thing I thought of. Mac Miller has to go with number 2. Friends, I'll say good food at number 4. We'll say, if I had to be more specific, I would say great sushi. This would just say good times.
Good times.
Now that good friends were in there, we'll say good times as well to go along with it.
That's a good pairing right there.
Yeah.
Just a great top 5 in general, and great way to end this episode.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Thoy.
I was a bit nervous. I wasn't exactly sure what it was going to be like, or conversation would be awkward. But
did you talk to Jared at all?
I talked to Jared. He gave me like little tidbits of what it was about, but never like nothing specific. Who else has done it? Hyatt?
Yeah, and then I've got Connor tomorrow, and then hoping to get the next 3 next week. Yeah, but how do you want to end this thing?
How do I want to end it? How about this? Let's show our lock screens and home screens to the camera, and then we can compare next time we film.
All right.
My lock screen is me giving the middle finger to the entire state of Michigan.
Mine is me in Puerto Rico, with Puerto Rico in front of me. And it's been pointed out to me that it looks like one of those like girls by the pool pictures.
Yeah.
To be fair, I do have a giant ass, but...
Here's my home screen. It's my girlfriend, Katie. Shit. Hopefully that doesn't change the next 3 years, but...
My home screen is me after beating the Nugget Challenge. I don't know if I ever want that to be finished, because, I mean, that's a good fucking thing. Sweet.
All right.
Hell yeah.
Peace.